Valid recall. Oh, God, how could that happen?
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller
Really upset that my daughter will not read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish on Twitch because I needed content. That's what we've come to.
and Moulton.
Well, we need to explain to her the pilot program, and we need 25 hours of programming a week. So you need to deliver your 12 minutes a day, 5 times a week,
know.
because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Monday after Father's Day weekend. Thanks so much for being with us on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming as always at foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, which is 479-5551, 479-5551. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How was your Father's Day weekend?
Arguably the best Father's Day I've ever had. It was terrific. Couldn't have been better. Start to finish, just A1.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We, I'm the cook around the house.
Right.
So I'm not going to cook on Father's Day. And
Right.
we went out to breakfast, did a place I'd not done before, Skinny Dogs, the cousin of Fat Cats. Kind of makes sense there, David.
Gotcha.
Out of this world. Who knew? Who knew doing a Benedict on a biscuit could be that life-altering?
I don't think most of us have ever thought that.
Exactly. And then I was right in your neck of the-
Benedict on a biscuit is life-altering.
Yes.
Well, we are dealing with a pandemic, so I don't think it takes much to alter our lives anymore.
Just absolutely wonderful. And then was in your neck of the woods. Was right down the road from you in a restaurant you've probably never been to for dinner. Did a few oysters at the Blue Point Oyster place there. You know, it's right by Grimaldi's. You know where Grimaldi's is, David, the pizza
I've
joint.
actually been to that restaurant.
No, really?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Did you get lost?
No, I just tried it out. I literally, usually I get to that little intersection and I just wander over to the left.
Right.
Okay. And one time I said, you know what? I've been staring at this place for 10 years. How about we go in and we check it out? And it was very nice. A little highbrow for me, goodness knows. But it was very nice. You can sit outside and dine, and it's lovely.
Exactly. So no, we had a great meal, great dinner. The daughter bought me a dozen golf balls for Father's Day. And
That I saw on Twitter.
Well, and that there's a little sidebar because my father, I think for every Father's Day, birthday, and Christmas from, I don't know, the time I was 7 until I was 40, I think Fred got a dozen balls at least twice a year for me. Because once I was old enough to get him other things, the dozen balls started coming from Jake. I'm still buying them.
Right.
Jake signed this.
Right.
And so, and my dad was...
In other words, the golf ball, the dozen golf balls is the equivalent of my blue sweaters.
But something my dad wanted. That's the
Gotcha.
difference. You didn't want the blue sweater.
No.
Everybody has a thing or two in their life that they are cheap about. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. There is something that bothers you to spend money on. Like for me, and I've mentioned this on the show, I despise having to pay to get a haircut because I'm just going to have to go back and do it again. It drives me nuts. Don't ask me why. It's just a stupid quirk of mine.
Okay.
My father's was, and my dad was the guy that bought everybody a drink, very generous with his money, never let people pay, never would ever consider him a cheap man. But if he broke out a new sleeve of balls and happened to hit that first ball in the water, he might not recover for 3 holes. That $2.60 would break the man down. And so to him, a dozen balls was money he didn't have to spend on golf balls. It was just a genuine smile that my father would get when he got a dozen balls, because then he didn't have to lose his own money. So when my daughter bought me the dozen balls and then proceeded to open every one of them and get a gold Sharpie and write daddy on every golf ball, well, she won Father's Day.
So in other words, if anybody finds, or these Pro V1s?
Pro V1Xs, and if they're written with a gold Sharpie, because I'm the number one dad, we had a silver Sharpie. She explained to my wife that silver is for second place, and that will not do.
Oh, gotcha.
Had to go out and get a gold pen. So, yes, a gold daddy on Titleist 5, 6, 7, and 8, the high numbers.
Oh, the high numbers. Interesting.
Yeah, someone gave me crap about that yesterday. I prefer the high numbers to the low numbers.
It's funny. I preferred the low numbers, but I loved the rare number 4. Okay, for whatever reason. If I could get, instead of 1s and 2s all the time, if I could play the 3s and the 4s for whatever reason, I felt like, I got a good sleeve here.
All right.
This is a make it happen sleeve, because I was very superstitious when it came to golf. Very superstitious.
I trust me. I think we all are in some certain way with whatever it is we do. So I left you alone all weekend. I know your daughter was coming to town, but I have to imagine that this Father's Day was a little more special than most.
It's funny. You are not the first person to say that, and I didn't think of it that way as it was happening. Like Joe Buck sent me a text in which he said, this has got to be a very special Father's Day for you. And I'll say it again. I never thought I was going to die last month. It's a very strange thing. I looked at it more as like a broken leg than I did hey, as big a deal as apparently it was. Now, my wife did. That I can assure you.
And your daughter did too.
Right.
I mean, you know what? Screw you. Can you get one of them on the microphone? Let me talk to someone who thought it was an important Father's Day.
I didn't say it wasn't important, but you are, you're like the 7th or 8th person to go, this has probably got to be one of the, if not the most special Father's Days you've ever had. And
what the hell are you doing it in that voice for? What are you mocking us for caring? How the sun did we become Brockmire when we're wishing you a happy Father's Day after you had your flippin' kidney taken out?
And a cancerous one at that.
Yeah.
Okay, right. It's just, we're all, hey, come on, I'm a little bit of a strange duck, but we all, from the minute that I got the diagnosis, all right, I did not think this was the end. I didn't. I thought this was what so far it has turned out to be, which is, ooh, damn, good thing they caught this now, because apparently in 2 weeks you'd be in really bad shape, but maybe, just maybe, we're down 2 scores with about 4 minutes to go, but we've got the ball and we can still do this. I mean, that's how I looked at it. And so far, had the surgery and removed all the cancer, and knock on wood, the scans so far are clear. And so, we're doing this. But I never viewed it as this was going to be my last Father's Day. But you're right, Mark. A lot of other people thought it. A lot of other people considered it.
I'm sorry, I was texting with your wife there because she and I have the same concerns right now. Yes. I just ignored everything you just said so I could get to the rational person in the relationship.
And so, yes, it was just great to see her. I mean, she's now at the age where, she's in her early 20s and she's going forward with life in the pursuit of happiness. And so, we're seeing her like every 4 months. And that's hard because we're a small, very close-knit family. And now I understand what I did to my mother, because when I went away to college, the first couple of years I came home, but by about my junior year, when I went to college, even though it was only 2 hours away, I didn't come back home. And so really from the time I was 20 into now, I've spent a year back, quote unquote, home. And otherwise I've been elsewhere. And so, and my mom and I obviously very tight, and just the two of us, growing up, the whole deal. And so I'm now realizing what I did to her, that it's just nice to be able to see your kid. And, yeah, you can talk on the phone and this, that, and the other thing, but it's just, even if it's the mundane everyday stuff, it's nice to be able to do it in the living room or the lanai as opposed to, FaceTiming it and what have you. So it was just great to see her. But yes, you're not the first person, and you're not the second, you're not the third also to go,
I waited till after dinner, David.
This
the voice
probably
again.
One of the most special Father's Days you've ever had.
Yeah, it damn well should have been.
And
I'm not saying that you thought anything bad was going to happen, but I actually would think, and maybe I'm completely wrong, because you said many times you thought of this as a broken leg. You never thought of your mortality and those things. However, since the cancer, since the surgery, I would have to think, David, there's been a moment where you went, holy blank, this was pretty serious.
And I haven't. In fact, my wife and I had that conversation this morning in which I looked at her and I go, you keep insisting that this was a really big deal. And she looked at me like, well, I'm going to stab you in the neck and make something a really big deal. All right. I'm going to get your head out of your you-know-what and make you pay attention to something. So I'll slowly come around. But I'm set in my ways. Okay, what can I tell you?
Remind me a little bit of a baseball owner, David. It's amazing you take the player's side on this, because you're acting a hell of a lot like an owner.
That's funny. That's a dadgum good point. My wife just sent me a text in which she said, well, that's great. While you were sitting in the hospital battling this and you were making sports analogies, I was not. So I guess she was checking to make sure that the paperwork was all signed and I's dotted, T's crossed, and that sort of deal. So
at least have something in there to have you put an X on pretty quickly.
Well, exactly.
Hey, before the surgery, big fella, can you just X this? That'll work.
I just apparently Father's Day was in doubt, and I never thought it was. So, yeah, it was special, though. It was, and we only have one child, and it was great to see her. And it was nice that she made the effort to come down on Father's Day for, for Skinny D there.
That is great.
That was nice.
Question, David, and I didn't ask this in the text, but since you are so flippant about this whole thing right now.
I'm not flippant. I guess I'm just not wrapped in reality. That's all. Apparently, this was a bigger, more serious deal than I'm recognizing.
Well, and I guess this will be the answer of how big it was. Did the daughter come alone, or did the son-in-law come with? And now, after the kidney being removed, does he refer to you as dad?
He does not refer to me as dad. All right. He came along. All right. And they seem happy and doing well. And I would hope so.
Me too.
I mean, don't get me right. Like I have said many times, and right to his face, you'll make a great first husband. I'm just not in a hurry for it to happen right away. That's all. I mean, have them spend some quality time together. I want some good memories out of this relationship. I mean, come on now. So, yes, it was lovely. It was lovely. They got into town early Friday afternoon, and so, they were around for about 48 hours.
Well, that's great. That's great. Yeah. I'm glad.
Yep. But it is funny. Through others, I am slowly coming to the realization that apparently what I went through was a big deal.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Even
to me, it was a big deal.
I understood. And I did recognize that right away. I remember as it was going on saying to my wife, Mark seems genuinely concerned.
Yeah.
She's like, we all are. And meanwhile, I'm like, well, I'm going to have surgery Thursday. I'll be good. It'll be fine. So apparently it was a little more complicated than that. Once again, Mark, sometimes it's good to live in Moulton land.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, as you have said, you could overanalyze a 3-car funeral. The fact that this has been just a blip on the road, and maybe that's why. Maybe the fact that you tend to overanalyze a lot.
Everything.
I mean, a cutaway. I mean, there's never been anything better than the late Jim Mandich tearing you apart there was a cutaway.
Right, a 3-second cutaway of either a coach or a quarterback, and I came to this grandiose conclusion, and he just shredded me.
And I mean, David gives a 45-second to a minute and a half breakdown of this 3-second cutaway.
Yes. This is what it meant, Jim.
And Mandich, in his brilliant form and all of his glory, pauses, and he says, "You took all of that from a 3-second cutaway," and proceeded to undress David for the next minute and a half of just glorious radio. So maybe you've purposefully not overanalyzed this for your own well-being.
Well, and sometimes, though, I think we do it like we view things that are about ourselves differently than we view things that are about others. I mean, you have joked many times over the years, I'm very good at negotiating for others. For myself, not so much.
Terrible.
Sometimes okay, but sometimes not good at all.
But your track record of yourself is a C-. For others, it's an A.
Right. I can look at your situation and come to immediate conclusions about this is what you're worth, this is how you should negotiate, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to me, I don't know. Whatever. We'll figure it out. And so maybe that's just it. Maybe I view the situation for everyone else, and I view it very complicated. I see a lot of gray. Okay. When I view it for myself, I'm very cut and dried. I'm very black and white.
Could be.
Maybe that's it.
Could be. Well, we got a little racing today. This golf thing that's going on right now, if we can continue to have tournaments like this is unbelievable.
Well, let's be honest, though. They have opened with 2 of the shorter courses, and they have had virtually no wind at both. And yesterday, on top of no wind, they threw a little 2+ hour rain delay in which it softened everything up so that they could just fire darts.
Look, I'm not saying you're right. The courses. I'm just saying there's no one winning by 5 shots.
No.
I mean, there's 12 guys on the leaderboard. When you're turning the tournament on Sunday, you have zero clue who's going to win.
Yes,
and that's all I mean. That's where I'm coming from. Just the competition, David.
Terrific fields, excellent names on the leaderboards. Absolutely, great storylines involving some of these players. Yes, the last 2 weeks have been incredibly entertaining. One would think that they're going to the Travelers. That's not necessarily a hard course either. So, it's interesting here. Will the Memorial be the first tournament in which we actually think, although they've torn that up recently? So,
hey,
will the PGA be the first tournament in which maybe somebody's only going to win at around 10 or 12 under?
Yeah, until Monty and Jack's 80% ball comes into play, it just seems to be they're far better than the golf courses.
But, yes, some very entertaining golf. And not only that, for those of you who wanted something to watch and you're used to watching the U.S. Open into the early evening, the rain delay may have helped you out. All of a sudden, you turned on the TV and you were getting golf on CBS until 7 o'clock and on the Golf Channel till past 8:30.
Had to go find it. I mean, I thought I heard Nant say they were going to the Golf Channel, but volume wasn't the main thing there, so that confused me a bit. That and when I threw Fox on and the news was on it, so I'm like, what happened to the race? So that was rained out. They're going to race today at Talladega.
And we'll have it for you. Our coverage beginning at 3 o'clock here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Far more entertaining than anything else that's on in that time slot. I would guarantee you want to listen to the race today at 3.
Come on now. Doug Gottlieb does a good show. I mean, who can compete with MRN? I mean, none of us can.
I wasn't at all knocking Gottlieb. I just said what great programming at 3 p.m. There's nothing else on at that time that's worth a darn.
That is true.
That's all.
Gotcha. 479-5551, 479-5551 is how you can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551. But, Mark, that is not the big story that came out of NASCAR yesterday, unfortunately.
No, it is not.
I was shocked. I got to be honest with you. And I am not a naive person. I think people know that by now. I was shocked when I heard about this story, especially because there are far fewer people that have access to the garage now than normal. I would not have been shocked, quite frankly, pre-COVID. But what shocked me is you might be able to come up with a list of the people who had access to the garage that could have done this.
Yep.
I mean, there's virtually no media at these races now. There's virtually no fans. I am curious how many of the 5,000 special invitees were given garage access. I'm guessing virtually none of them.
I would think none. My guess when I read it, David, it's somebody that works at the track. That was my initial thought. That somebody that works at Talladega in some way, shape, or form would be the responsible party. I hope to goodness it's not someone that's with another team. But in NASCAR's release, if you read it, it almost, they certainly don't rule out that it could be from someone's team, because they said if we find out who it is, then they would never be involved in NASCAR again.
But for those that don't know, a noose was found in Bubba Wallace's garage stall. Bubba Wallace, the only black driver on the NASCAR circuit. A noose was found hanging in his garage stall. Unflippin' believable. Disgusting.
It's
disgusting.
just vile. I mean, it's effing vile.
And here's the other thing. You gotta believe there's cameras.
That was my initial thought too, David.
I mean, you gotta believe that there's cameras, in the garage stall,
around.
Even if yes, the grounds, hanging from the light poles and what have you, so they could see people who had access walking in and out. I mean, you've got to believe they've got cameras. Because it's, they've got stuff of value there. I mean, you would think that they would have some sort of security camera.
Yeah, I mean, not just stuff of value, but look, it is the sport in which cheating is, I don't want to say commonplace, but if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying is kind of a NASCAR phrase. So
yes.
You would think that there would be cameras on the garage area all the time to guarantee that people aren't doing something illegal to a car. I mean, I don't think they would ever imagine something like this would happen, but I'm with you, David. I think that there's got to be cameras somewhere that they're going to be able to at least have something to identify who did it by.
Adam Stern covers NASCAR for Sports Business Journal. He'll join us in a little more than an hour's time. Mark, we haven't even brought up baseball. We will coming up in the starting five. They almost did something yesterday. Almost, which would have changed the outcome of our poll question drastically. But
they tried to do something.
They did, and they were on the verge of doing something yesterday. And then, the commissioner and Tony Clark exchanged communication, and nothing got done. Jeff Fry is a former player. Now he's an agent. We'll talk to him at 8 o'clock about the goings-on in Major League Baseball. And, there's a whole lot of college football players that are either in quarantine or testing positive for the coronavirus.
And if you're an LSU fan, you should probably be happy because at least a third of your roster will not be able to get the coronavirus during the season because they all have it now.
Same with Clemson, who's got about a quarter of the team on scholarship.
Right.
Apparently he's tested positive for the coronavirus. Michael Felder from Stadium will join us a couple hours from now. We'll talk about how likely is it that the college football season is, in fact, going to take place and take place on time. Miller and Moulton. The starting five is next. Hope you had a great Father's Day weekend. Thanks so much for beginning your week with us here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Arch, we're not talking about cameras inside their garage, but I have got to believe in that area that there has to be all kinds of security cameras. I'm just talking about the same cameras you'd have outside of a business. I don't know how there can't be cameras all over the garage area at Talladega.
We've been working on that all
But just where the light poles are, you figure they'd have, much like we have at street corners and what have you. You figure there'd be just some cameras posted.
Morning, Seth.
Yeah, morning, gents.
I mean, and then, we start the show. Like, I looked at our text line, David, yesterday. Where is it?
Trade up. Over $500,000 in trade-in assistance up for grabs at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease, 0 down, $159 per month. 2020 Kia Sorento LX lease.
Where did it go? Oh, here it is. This is somebody yesterday at 10:19 p.m. Reading the paper today about FSU Stadium. Reading the paper today about FSU Stadium today about the name. I'm guessing they'd been drinking. Let's be proactive. Would you two please start a movement that changes the stadiums, fields, streets, counties, and statues to the correct African-American names that are politically correct? Then we can be done with this and move on. Wow. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. The text before that was, wow, these SBs should be on BET. You, Dave, and all us white people are bad people. It's all our fault. I'm sorry. Dude. Did you happen to watch the Club Pro Guy thing I sent you?
I did. I kind of midway through it turned it off. It was, but it was something. It was something.
Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living.
No, they don't, Seth. But it's. I don't. Watch the Open this morning.
I didn't watch the second.
I didn't watch the second of it either. I wouldn't watch. I mean, I don't watch it when there's sports.
Right.
Why would I watch it when there's no sports?
Correct.
But when I was checking like the news this morning at 4:50, they showed they had the Open on there, the 4.5 minutes, very powerful. I watched it. I thought it was well produced. I mean,
they are the tile experts in Naples, and they will start the inspection process right away. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. Cathedralroofingnaples.com.
License number CCC 1331928.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at foxsportsfm.com. We are Fox.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back on our feet.
You got any thoughts about a poll question?
No.
And we are too.
Good talk.
Rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us. We're open and ready to.
You think the college football season will start on time?
Supports are designed to help alleviate even a little.
God, it's funny. I was thinking along the same with all these players. I actually think this is good news for everybody getting it. I'm like, I don't know. There's something about get it now, get it before we open camp. You're good.
Priority. So we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand.
I want to see what NBA and the NHL and
just as we have for a
yep,
they all pull
MLS,
out. WNBA.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
David Grant had a great tweet yesterday. He goes, I don't think there's anything inaccurate about what he said. He goes, we have just moved to the Sweden model. The Florida government just hasn't told anybody that. Like that, and I'm like, you're right. That's what we've done. Because DeSantis has basically said we're not going back. We're not doing it again.
We hired great talent, trained our staff, and developed our product. Now, after 17 years, my shower door has 8 frameless
Seth, in the southeast, it'll take a lot more than this for school not to start on time and for kids not to be on campus in late August. I'm just telling you. Seth, the entire economic model for higher education depends on these kids being in a classroom.
And in dorm rooms, more importantly.
Yep.
Because that's where the money's made at college.
Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years.
And yes, the rate. Okay.
Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-14.
And while the rate of infection is up significantly, the death rate is down significantly. Now, we get one college kid.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
It's 6:30. Thanks for being with us, Miller and Moulton. One of our just 3 shows this week. Want to let everybody know. Don't want to get the texts and the emails on Wednesday and Thursday. Did you guys get fired again? Is David back in the hospital? No.
I'm going fishing. That's why we're taking a couple of days off. I'm going fishing.
Mark's literally putting up the sign, flipping it over, gone fishing.
Gone fishing. Tomorrow after the show, I'm out, heading down to the Keys for 3 days of fishing. I'll be back late Thursday night. We'll do the show Friday.
Right. So that's all it is.
That's
all
it.
it is.
I mean,
then Friday, July 3rd, we're going to take off because it's a company holiday in honor of the 4th. And even though we're
not employees, we don't want to make Giro have to come in and work on his holiday.
Exactly.
Or to have John have to find someone when Giro says, no, I'm not working on the 3rd.
Right. It's
a holiday.
Right. So we'll take a couple 2-3 days off here over the next 2 weeks, but don't worry, everything's okay. We're good. Nothing funky going on. That's all. So with that disclaimer out of the way, time now for
the starting 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
NASCAR, rain postponed yesterday's race until this afternoon. Our coverage begins at 3 o'clock here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. But that is not the big story that came, unfortunately, out of the NASCAR garage. Bubba Wallace, the only black driver on the NASCAR series, walked into his garage yesterday and found a noose hanging in it. That's right. And this is at Talladega, where there were more than a few fans who lined up outside of the gates of the track, proudly displaying their Confederacy flags and other memorabilia. And there was even one gentleman who flew the Confederate flag over Talladega with the message after the flag that said defund NASCAR. So a few hot button topics and issues followed NASCAR to Talladega. They will try to race at 3 o'clock Eastern today, and we will have it for you here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You know, Webb Simpson couldn't make a thing for about 3 hours yesterday. In fact, at one point, Mark, they were commenting, man, he's missing them high, he's missing them low, he's hitting a lot of good shots. Got a lot of looks for birdie, but boy, right now he just can't make anything. And then he proceeded, beginning with the 12th hole, to birdie 5 out of 6 holes. And he
dunked a couple too. I mean, there was a couple of pretty decent length putts. I mean, he was hitting some great shots. There's a par 5 that was reachable. They were all sticking it on 16, really close, I believe it was. But the putt he made on 17 for the 2, there was some just terrific putts there.
And so what looked as if it was going to be like a ho-hum 68 and a top 10 finish turned into a 7 under 64. And Webb Simpson picked up his second win on Father's Day because he is a former U.S. Open champion. It's the 7th win of Webb Simpson's career. So yesterday, the Major League Baseball players are having a meeting, and they're going to vote on baseball's apparently last offer, which is 60 games, take it or leave it. And as they're meeting, Commissioner Manfred reaches out to Tony Clark and says, I just want to reiterate, it's 60 games, and if you don't come to a deal, the universal DH, I'm not going to implement that. The expanded playoffs, I'm not going to implement that. All right? I mean, just so you know, this will be a bare bones agreement. And it'll have nothing to do with 2021. So, we'll go back to the old rules for 2021. Nobody will get anything extra in 2021. And I just want to reiterate that if you accept our offer, that, even if guys, get cut, et cetera, they'll get paid X amount and, service time and all that sort of thing. So the players were so captivated by Rob Manfred's offer that they broke off their meeting and they went home. That's where baseball is right now. It is the first time In the history of the sport, 152 years, I believe, they've been playing officially Major League Baseball. I mean, the sport literally goes back to just after the Civil War. First time in 152 years that on the first official day of summer, Major League Baseball was not being played in this country. First time ever. 2 world wars we played.
David, I believe it was on the Dan Patrick Show Friday. They had mentioned it was 99 days, 100 days since we've had a sporting event. And the last time we had gone this long without a professional sporting event was like 1917. That's because the NBA and the NFL didn't exist, David.
Right. Now, I will say, if you're the Dan Patrick Show, so in other words, the PGA Tour and NASCAR and UFC, they don't count. Is that what they're saying? They're going Big Four? Is that what they're talking about?
Well, I mean, in 1917, I know we didn't have NASCAR either. So, and we didn't have the PGA. There's no PGA in 1917. There was golf.
No. I just mean now. They said 99 days without a sporting event. I mean, there's been some racing. There's a couple of golf tournaments.
I guess they're going Big Four.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Dak Prescott, and it's so funny, initial reaction to this. Don't know if you heard, but Dak Prescott yesterday gave the indication he is going to sign the franchise tender. And most people's immediate reaction was, what is he doing? He's giving up his leverage. You don't understand how the whole franchise tags work, do you? First off, it guarantees him $31.4 million this year. There's nothing the Cowboys can do with that 31.4, by the way. There's no way to massage it, defer any of it, what have you. No, that's boom, 31.4 that's on the books. Okay, that's not where Dak's getting his leverage, because it's true. By signing the franchise tender, Dak can't hold out. And in theory, that's where he could have had some leverage over the Cowboys. But Dak would have gotten a lot of heat, Mark. I mean, if he held out. New coach, expectations once again are high. It's like, hey, win something. You're not helping the cause here. You're just looking out for yourself. But here's where Dak really pushes the Cowboys into a corner. Dak can go the franchise tag next year. That's an automatic 20% raise. That makes Dak's salary next year $37.7 million on the books with no flexibility.
Now, here's the key to that, at least to me, David, is Pat Kerwin has talked about this numerous times on the show. $3 to $4 billion in revenue could go away for the National Football League simply because fans may not be at games.
Yep.
What does that do to the 2021 salary cap? And now you're talking with Dak getting nearly $40 million. Sorry, David, but that is the one area. When you said that, when I saw that, I immediately thought of what Pat was talking about. What the hell is the 2021 cap going to look like? And if it goes down by 30% while Dak's salary goes up by 20%, oh my God, they're just cutting players to make room.
Yep. So everybody's saying Dak's lost leverage. Dak's maybe lost a little bit of leverage in the next 2 months, but Dak has put the Cowboys in the corner, and he has said, hey, I'll do the Kirk Cousins game. And I'll do the Kirk Cousins game when the cap may be cut by 25% next year. When your $200 million cap, instead of going to 220, is going to go down to 160.
Because if it goes up, that 20% is peanuts to you.
Right.
If it goes down, it's everything.
Imagine losing 30, 40 million off your salary cap, and I'm making 37.7.
I mean, you're talking.
I could be a quarter of your cap.
That's exactly what I was going to say. A quarter. 23, 24% of your cap. Oh, no. Dak then has all of the leverage.
Right.
You want a long-term deal? Own 25% of someone's cap. when you're already paying Zeke all that money, and you're paying Cooper that money, and you're paying everybody else what you had. You just signed 2 more players to long-term deals. I mean, you've got 5 guys in parts now.
Yeah, you signed the linebacker to a long-term deal last year. You got 2 offensive linemen making big money. I mean, you literally may have 7 guys on the team if the cap goes down as expected. So they've got till July 15th to work something out long-term. Otherwise, that's it. Can't negotiate. And it'll be 31.4 on this year's cap, and Dak looking at 37.7, which would, by the way, make him the highest paid player in the league. Russell Wilson for this year is making the most money on the books at 35.5, I believe. 35.5, and Roethlisberger at 34 is second, technically. So there you have it. College football, very sad story. Just 26 years old, Max Turk was hiking, and they found him dead. An All-American center at USC who was drafted by the Chargers. He did not have much of an NFL career, but 26-year-old Max Turk, an All-American at USC, found dead yesterday. 30 LSU football players have been quarantined. 23 Clemson players have reportedly tested positive. That is some of what came out of college football over the weekend. All sorts of numbers with the coronavirus. Yes, in a third of the states in this country, the number of positives are way up. The death rate, however, is way down.
Right. Hospitalizations are not going up at the rate those were expecting if positive numbers went up.
And so, there are numbers for each side. Needless to say, every week seems to bring about a different feeling and a different thought as to what the sports landscape is going to look like. The one thing in reaction to the coronavirus, Major League Baseball did decide over the weekend. They closed all of their Arizona and Florida facilities. And basically every team has decided, if we have a season, we're going to do spring training at home. I mean, like Yankees and think of the irony. Think of the irony that this is where we are with the coronavirus in the latter part of June. All right, that the Yankees and Mets are closing their facilities in Florida and telling their players, hey, if we're going to play and you need to train, you need to come to the New York metropolitan area. Fascinating.
It truly is.
Going on.
It truly is.
And in case you missed it over the weekend, don't know how many of you watched and what it is you thought of a fanless Belmont.
Holy crap, was that weird. And I've been watching a decent amount of horse racing, but there's never anybody at the track at Santa Anita on a Tuesday. So I'm comfortable with that. It's just strange.
'Tis the law. First New York horse to win the Belmont in a very long time, and he looked every bit the role of the 4-5 favorite. My horse looked pretty good finishing second.
No, it was a good exacta bet. We talked about that. I don't care that it was a favorite. I got one right. I haven't got a horse race right in a while, David, so I was just happy that I...
And what's fascinating now is instead of the second leg of the Triple Crown being in 2 weeks, the second leg of the Triple Crown will be in 2.5 months.
And what they're going to see out of this, I could see horse racing changing in this regard. They've been talking about putting more space between the Triple Crown races in an effort to get more of the horses to race all of the Triple Crown races.
Right.
I think that they're going to end up, when they go back on schedule, I think you could see the Belmont pushed back, if you know what I mean. I think they could start going May, June, July.
Well, we have talked about that. Should every race have its own month? And the Kurt Beckers of the world, every time that we have them on and we bring it up, they say that, the history of the Triple Crown, and that is why it is so challenging, and only 13, 14 horses have done it, is because you've got to run 3 different tracks, 3 different distances in a 5-week period of time. And that essentially they feel the Triple Crown would stop being the Triple Crown if you made it easier. Because if you have a race per month, you make it easier. I'm with you, Mark.
And enough horse racing people have been at least with us. I mean, I don't even know if it's the majority, but there are enough people out there. To me, it's kind of like the universal DH, David. it started and everybody said, well, that's a dumb idea. And then you start talking about, well, maybe. And I just think because of this year, and we may have greater races and more horses racing in all of them, I don't know. Maybe we'll see by the end of this that the horse people go, this worked out all right for us.
I think the key is the Belmont. Will the Belmont agree to move? Because the Derby ain't moving.
No.
Right. So the key is, will the New York Racing Authority agree to move their race to either, I would make it July 4th weekend.
I would too.
On that Saturday.
I would too. You could have your hot dog eating contest one day and the Belmont another.
Or the hot dog eating contest in the morning, even if it falls on the same day. And then just head on over from Coney Island to Queens there. Not that far. And at 14 minutes before 7 o'clock mark, that is...
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Seth Everett wondering, do you think the horses even knew it was a race?
They knew. Oh, they knew.
Oh, they knew, Seth. They knew.
They got a 130-pound guy whacking them on the ass with a whip. That's how they knew.
Right. Wow, I guess this is important. And besides, what are we doing starting all the way down here?
Why am I in this gate?
Right. What are we doing here? Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll unveil our poll question, the results of our weekend-long poll question on the other side. Thanks for being with us. Hope you had a great Father's Day weekend. We are Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Vic Fangio is the head coach of the Denver Broncos, and he had this to say.
I don't see racism at all in the NFL. I don't see discrimination in the NFL.
He does know where the NFL was trying to incentivize teams to bring in African-American coaches, and you would get a better draft pick. There is racism.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
I've always wanted to learn another language, so I decided to give Babbel a try, and I really like the teaching method of the app. I started with the beginner lesson on Babbel, and soon you're putting words into a conversation. Each lesson takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and they're all really different, which keeps things interesting. I can't wait to use my Spanish skills in real life. Dos cervezas, por favor.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's BABBEL.com.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. Soon you'll have a separate fridge in the basement, where extra groceries are exiled forever. Remember that frozen lasagna? Of course you don't. It's been down there since 2008. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance. Piece of cake. Behind the lasagna, it's very old. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit TowboatUSCapeCoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water. Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn. We are Fox Sports!
Cathedral Roofing Innovations, now Hurricane Irma.
You want to just go with the college football one?
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Well, problems with tile roofs, they continue to occur as a result. Now, many homeowners are just now feeling the effects of the hidden damage that occurred to their tile roof. Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living on borrowed time. Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design, are susceptible to lift and powerful storms like hurricanes. When this occurs, your tile underlayment can be compromised, but you would not realize it until possibly years later. Now, with Cathedral Roofing Innovations, you get a great roofing company to inspect your roof for any damage, and just because you don't have leaks doesn't mean you don't have issues. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. They are the tile experts in Naples, and they will start the inspection process right away. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com, cathedralroofingnaples.com.
License number CCC 1331928.
For over 20 years, the Good Feet store has been helping people with foot pain get back to doing what they love without their feet getting in the way. Call 552-FEET or visit us at the Good Feet store in Naples or our newest location in Fort Myers.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tech flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now,
Did you happen to read I just read an article on Bubba Wallace Friday. I think it was in The Athletic. It was the title was something like Bubba Wallace just cared about racing until he didn't, and it was the Georgia one that set him off. Apparently, according to the articles, it was like he was talking to his mom, and his mom's like, "Yeah, he cared about winning. The only flag he ever cared about was the checkered flag." And literally, mom's quoting the article, like how proud she was and how damn shocked she was when he came out with this. She's like, "Who? My Bubba?" It was really a neat article. And then this happens 2 days later.
Go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
Your life.
Eight minutes before 7 o'clock, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We're Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Adam Stern, who covers NASCAR for Sports Business Journal, will join us coming up in a little more than a half an hour. Jeff Fry to talk the Major League Baseball saga in the 8 o'clock hour, and Michael Felder from Stadium to talk college football and whether or not these coronavirus numbers are getting to the point where some folks in the sport are reconsidering their plans for the fall. And that's our poll question.
Very simple. Will the college football season start on time? I mean, this weekend, just from the standpoint of the LSU numbers, the Clemson numbers, I think some more in Texas, it seemed that every 6 minutes, David, there was a new notification on my phone of coronavirus numbers from college football teams.
But, and I'm not espousing one view over the other. All right, I'm not. I'm just here are the facts. Everybody draws their own conclusion as to how they're going to handle this. My wife and I, we are socially distancing. We are socially isolating, quite frankly. And, we even kept our distance from our daughter and son-in-law over the course of the weekend.
Wait a minute.
As best we could.
I need a 20.
Yeah.
I need a quick 20-second timeout here. Wife did not hug daughter.
Once with a mask on.
All right.
It's kind of a side hug. To be
A
honest.
side hug for your daughter?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Wow. All right. I know she's not going to hug you, but at this point, we don't blame her anymore.
No, 2022. That's when I've already got it
circled it.
I did 2022. Okay, that's when we've already, I had a buddy of mine who one time we saw on a calendar in which he literally wrote on a Friday late in the month, "Be spontaneous with," and he had the name of his wife. Now, the fact he had it written down on the calendar, okay, a couple of weeks in advance to quote,
be spontaneous
with, and then the name of his wife. Right. Okay. My wife and I have already planned a be spontaneous with significant other moment for early in 2022.
Good for you. Good for the two of you. That's great.
We have. So that's our poll question. At that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Will the college football season start on time? Yes. Coronavirus cases up in a lot of places where college football is important to them, but deaths are way down. Hospitalizations, some places up significantly. Other places, not so much. So there's data for
whatever it is you want to support,
whatever political side, the whole deal. It's there. We're just asking, do you think college football is going to start on time? And I have been unwavering. Mark, I think you've been unwavering.
Yeah, they're playing college football.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
The entire financial system of college, not just sports, but college education, depends on the kids being in the dorms and the football teams playing.
One of my first reasons that I've thought we were right on, and we don't know if we are, but one of the first reasons I thought we had support for what we were thinking is that, look, Michigan has done a really good job getting their cases down. The governor went to great lengths and took a lot of criticism for how she handled things. But their cases are way down in big numbers. But before the numbers even started going, when she's talking about no sports being played, Michigan State came out and said, oh, the kids are back on campus and they're going to be in the dorms. And when I saw that from friends of mine whose kids are attending school in the fall, I went, well, I'll be damned. That was a little earlier than I expected to see that. And once they put the kids in the dorms, they're going to play football.
Right. I mean, that's our belief. And we could be totally off base. And who knows, in the next 8 weeks, people may change their tune. But that's our poll question. And, this snapshot in time, how is it that you feel about the college football season and whether or not it will start on time? Our poll question over the weekend was whether or not you thought something was going to happen between the Major League Baseball players and owners. And over 70% of you said, yeah, not a damn thing's going to happen. And you were right.
Yes, you were. You were right. It wasn't that hard, was it?
That was one of those, didn't have to overanalyze this one.
Nope.
Nope.
Adam Stern will join us next hour to talk what happened in Talladega.
Nope, they both suck. Nothing's going to happen here.
This is a Wink News update.
I'm Lindsay Sablon with Wink News. Right now, Southwest Florida is at 15.7% for positive test results for coronavirus. That's above the 10% threshold for safely reopening. There are more than 8,700 cases in our area and just over 97,000 cases across
I'm curious.
the state. Total
Oh,
cases
did you leave?
in the U.S.
Yeah,
are
you did.
now above 2.2 million. The CDC is planning to update its recommendation on wearing masks. Scientists are trying to determine if wearing a mask can prevent you from contracting the virus and not just from spreading it. Today, local business owners can apply for financial
Look, and I don't know where people are on the mask thing,
offering a one-time
but
$5,000 grant to help
I'm wearing one.
businesses
I'm wearing it everywhere I go.
pandemic.
That's not true. I didn't wear it when I went to a restaurant because basically you sit down. But I don't go near people as I'm waiting for my table. And yesterday at breakfast, there wasn't a lot of shade. It was obviously hotter than I'll get up. And I'm standing next to my wife and daughter who are sitting on a bench. A guy walks into the restaurant to get in his name on the list for a table. He is wearing a mask. He walks in the door. He comes outside again to wait, proceeds to take his mask off and stand right next to me. I move into the mulch, like off the sidewalk so I can get a little further away. Then his wife comes closer to my wife and daughter. I finally ended up, we moved because I don't get it. I don't get it. Just saying, David, yesterday at breakfast, guy walks in, gets out of his car to get on the wait for a table, has his mask on, comes back out of the restaurant outside where people are waiting for tables, all being socially distant, takes his mask off, and he was 1.5 feet from me. I moved into the mulch to get away from him. He and his wife just moved closer. I just said, Eve, come here. We walked all the way around the outside, so I could clearly be 25 feet away from these people. And then we ended up going to our car and sat there in the AC. They just ended up talking to another couple that they didn't know, and they're just right up next to it. I'm like, okay. That's how this is happening, because people are just flat out stupid. Stupid.
Everybody, because I didn't leave the property this weekend. That's not true. I went to a couple of drive-thrus, picked up some stuff, but I just asked people this weekend, so what's the mask to non-mask ratio?
Not good.
And so I do think that that's one area that, if we had just kind of insisted on people wearing masks.
I just saw on the, I've got the news on here, the Florida Department of Health or the Florida Health Management or whatever, they want a mask requirement in Florida right now. It ain't going to happen.
No.
Wow, look at you.
That's it. Miller.
When are you going to get Klay Thompson on my show? Will not read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish on Twitch.
That's
just coming. He ghost hosts. I don't know how much that's helping us, but he's just plugging stuff.
Well, who do you? Explain to her the pilot program, and we need 25 hours of programming a week.
Klay Thompson on your show? You're impressive.
5 times a week, because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
Your life. Couple minutes past 7 o'clock. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, and we are streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. You can always chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. The number 479-5551, 479-5551. Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal to talk what took place yesterday in Talladega, the disturbing developments in the garage of Bubba Wallace, and then also preview the race a little bit later today. And our coverage of the race begins at 3 o'clock here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. But our poll question, sorry, Mark, is whether or not you think the college football season is going to begin on time. And we specifically made it the college football season because we don't think college and the NFL are joined at the hip.
Not at all. Not even close. The NFL has so many advantages over college, mainly because they have a commissioner and 32 owners that can decide things, as opposed to college football that's run basically independently by every conference.
Right.
And, the one answer we didn't put on there, you could almost have a maybe, some of them, because we still haven't figured out, the SEC could play and start on time. And the Big Ten might not. We don't know. We might not have non-conference games. The only thing that they've said, and the NCAA said it, and they don't matter anyhow, is they basically gave approval to a preseason practice plan.
Correct.
Is there anything that I'm missing, David, that college football said other than that?
No. And it could be done by conference. It could be done by schools. Will the Big Ten allow, let's just say the Big Ten is undecided about whether or not they're going to let their schools play conference games. Will the Big Ten say to each member school, listen, it's up to you. If you guys don't feel comfortable getting on a plane or, spending a couple nights in an out-of-town hotel or what have you, and you don't want to do this, or a specific game that you have scheduled in which you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go there. My guess is a conference will let each school decide about their non-conference games. But as we talked about, Mark, there is a huge non-conference game scheduled between Oregon and Ohio State. And you've got to believe that both conferences and certainly both schools really want that game to take place. And is that going to alter what it is they do and their thought process going forward? It could. Colorado and Colorado State play, first game of the year. I know Colorado State's in a conference and, they could argue winning the conference is the biggest deal and this, that, and the other thing. Is there a bigger game on Colorado State's schedule in Colorado?
No. My wife's Colorado State grad. I can say that without any shadow of a doubt. That's the game.
And that game's supposed to be on CBS, by the way. I mean, Colorado State doesn't get 3:30 in the afternoon on CBS very often. And Colorado, quite frankly, doesn't get a prime national television spot very often. Let's be honest.
No, and this is at Colorado State too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's because this CB.
I'm trying to figure out if the game's at. I know Colorado State's a home team. I'm trying to figure out, are they hosting the game or is the game?
I would think they're hosting. They just got that brand new, addition to their stadium, and I'm double checking here really quickly to see if there's a neutral site there.
Whether or not they're playing where the Broncos.
No,
play,
it's in Fort Collins. It's
okay.
It's a home game. I mean, that's a big
deal.
It's a big deal. One, for a gate for Colorado State, but two, as it's national television. It's showing off their stadium. This is a big deal. This is exposure that they don't ever get.
Nope. And so, there's a lot of factors involved here. The biggest of which is money. Come on, let's cut to the chase. There's a lot of money that's at stake here, and are they going to risk someone's health? Well, for amount of money, yeah, I think they will. Now, would they, if they thought somebody was going to die? No, I think they would pump the brakes. Okay, but positive tests, I don't believe positive tests are going to get them to stop. Now, that's my theory. You have yours. 479-5551, 479-5551, and our poll question, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Do you think the college football season will begin on time? And I don't count week 0, for the record. I understand there's what is it? Is it August 28th, 29th, something like that? That's week 0. I don't even know if there's a headline game.
There really is not.
Because Notre Dame Navy got pushed back a week and got moved from Ireland to Annapolis. So, to me, it's the Saturday of Labor Day weekend. That's September 5th.
All right.
That's, to me, the start of the college football season.
Let me just throw one at you here. And you're right with your dates. But this is a Friday night season opener. Not a huge deal, but this is a game that will get some eyeballs. Because, they've been a team that's attracted eyeballs the last couple of years. UCF's hosting North Carolina on September 4th. Now, I don't know. I'm hoping that the numbers that we have in Florida will be better by the time we get to September. But when we first started talking about this, we were talking about, is Rutgers going to play? Well, as Seth Everett promoting the fact that he's going to have Klay Thompson on his Twitch show tomorrow, in our Twitch room, let us know today that the numbers in New Jersey are terrific right now. So when we talk about this, you don't even mention New Jersey the way you did a month ago. That's why I think it's a little foolish to be working on numbers. But let's just say, for whatever reason, Florida continues to have more positive cases. If you're North Carolina, you really going to risk your season by coming to play a non-conference game against UCF?
I don't know that you are. But the good thing is, if you're North Carolina, you've got the MLS at the end of this month, and you got the NBA and the WNBA, in which you can literally sit back and watch and see, are they able to pull off what it is they're trying to pull off? And also, B, so what are the rate of positive tests here amongst the athletes? I mean, there are a lot of people in the sport that are like, listen, I'm not worried about the athletes. I'm worried about the coaches.
Exactly.
Coaches are older. And in Mac Brown's case, it's one of the older coaches. So, I do think we're going to see masks on the sidelines.
Absolutely.
I do think we're going to see that. All right. And it wouldn't surprise me, by the way, what I think, and, obviously we could be completely wrong, and to even speculate on June 22nd is probably foolish. But if I had to bet money right now, my guess is there will be between 25 and 50% capacity, and they will mandate masks.
And I'm not sure I'm not going to get into your capacities at all, because I think it's far too early to start thinking of what crowds are going to look like, because they're going to want to maximize revenue. That's why we play these games. Let's just David said it earlier, cut to the chase. It's about money. But
right,
David, as you know, you and I try to outdo one another for 1099s on an annual basis.
I think I got you.
You've got me, but over the years I've had different jobs, and one of them is in the technology industry, and a company that I'm actually working with right now. We have a product that is a tablet that scans your temperature, can tell if you're wearing a mask. These things are going to be at I'm guessing they're going to be at every venue. And, people I've been trying to talk to, I've talked to FGCU about them. I've talked to a couple of their old SIDs, and they've gone to schools where people I know are at. I've talked to the Everblades about them. That's what's going to be the norm. I think before you get to the metal detector, they're going to be taking your temperature. And I think you're going to be wearing them. David, if it's 100% capacity, you may still have to wear a mask at the gate.
I think the more people you have, the more masks you'll have.
Well, and I mean, that could have been a question. It could be a question since we're not doing a show on Wednesday or Thursday this week. We keep reminding people it's on purpose. I'm going fishing. And, I mean, maybe that's the poll question tomorrow. If you had to wear a mask in order to attend a game, would you still go? Because I have no problem wearing my mask. Apparently, they've even come up with a dumb name now because people are, from wearing masks are getting acne. They call it MACNE. From the masks, So,
right.
Yeah, okay, so you might have a pimple or two more. It might be uncomfortable. Might be hot. Your sunglasses fog up. But do you still want to go to the game? Because I do. So if I got to wear my mask, I'll wear my mask. And I don't know if everybody would be that way. Because certainly when you go out around here now, people aren't wearing the whole hell of a lot of masks.
Yeah, but you know how emotionally tied we are to our sports, where you could see where somebody would justify, I don't want to wear it when I go shopping. But if they we've all seen the video of people getting violent when they show up at the grocery store and they're told you must wear a mask, and people are like, no, I'm not going to do it. And form whatever conclusions you want about those people. But
well said, David.
But I could see those same people who, for whatever reason, are horrified at the thought of wearing a mask at Walmart. But if they're told, hey, we're not going to let you into the swamp unless you put a mask on. Okay, and remember, going to Walmart's free. They're paying to get into the swamp. All right? And they're paying a few bucks.
Absolutely.
Probably to get into the swamp. Hey. So I think it would be different. I think the sports fan would react differently than maybe the general populace. I think they might even grumble and say, well, this will be the only place I wear a mask. Well,
fine.
Okay.
So be it.
Okay.
Don't know what to tell you. And I think you're onto something, David. We are so emotionally attached to the games themselves and the part of our life that is around sport that if you told someone, hey, I'm not emotionally attached to Publix, but I'm sure as hell emotionally attached to my Gators or my Knowles or my dogs or whomever.
Exactly.
I think you're onto something, David.
I'm not paying admission to get into Publix, but I got to pay a pretty buck here. Heck, I just paid to park, for goodness sakes, and that was a pretty buck. So, all right, I'll wear this thing. Not happy about it, but I'll wear it. 479-5551, 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line.
Well, we got a question here on that line, David, who says, I think we'll have football, but what happens, and it's not if. You have if. I'm going to change your if. But what happens when a team tests positive like Clemson or LSU? I'm more concerned with this on Sunday than I am Saturday because you only have 53. And if a position group contacts the coronavirus, you could see a team on Sunday. I mean, all of a sudden the receiver group's out. What do you do?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, what happens if Tom Brady gets it? That's 2 weeks. That's 2
I think it's going to be
minimum.
10. By the way, I think it's going to be 10 days for the NFL guys. Just hear me out here.
Well, I mean, yeah, they will probably desperately try to make it so that they miss as
one game
games as possible. But what happens when a starting quarterback tests positive? Because somebody's going to.
And look at in this bastardized baseball season, what happens when a starting pitcher gets it?
Yeah.
That's 3 starts. That could be 3 starts, David.
Well, Mark, I mean, if you miss 2 weeks and you're missing 13 or 14 games, if you're only going to have a 48 or 50-something game season, I mean, heck, you're missing a quarter of the season. And the season's already been cut to 1/3. And you're missing a quarter of that minimum. But this is what we talked about. And I see now that we're getting closer and now that we're doing more testing, and so now that we have more positive results, I don't think people fully wrap their brains around this when 3 months ago we kept saying these leagues, these conferences, these sports need to figure out what are they going to do when players test positive.
For the record, I think it was Nick Watney on the PGA Tour tested positive this week.
Yep, had to withdraw.
And already had played around.
Yes.
So he was on the course with his caddy, with other players.
Mm-hmm.
His playing partner has been tested and was negative. For now.
Yep.
So there's that. There's your golf that's already had it. UFC and the fight game have already had people have to DQ of fights because they've tested positive. The NHL, acquaintance of the show. He's not a friend of the. When you're only on once, David, you're just an acquaintance. We have to have multiple times before you can be considered a friend of the show. But Austin Matthews, who's been a guest on our show, one of the league's top players,
right,
has the coronavirus. So none of these leagues have given us a policy yet on what the hell they're going to do. Right now they have things because games aren't going on. They have their quarantines now, but they have not yet really stated what their policy is come July 31st when they start playing games for real.
And Mark, this is where I could be guilty of, I only see one option. I got to be honest. I literally only see, well, then you take that person out of circulation for whether it's 10 days, 14 days, what have you. You test them. And when they test negative for 2 days in a row, then you allow them to go back into circulation. That's it. And they miss however much time they miss. I don't know, either that or what? That's it? You're gone? They're not going to do that.
No.
And otherwise you don't play. See, that's the other thing. If by announcing you're going to come back and play, you are also announcing we know we're going to get positive test results and we're going to play through it. Now, none of those leagues are saying that, though, but that is really what they're announcing. Because if they're not willing to do that, then they're not going to play this year.
Right. Look at all of this. Watch what's going on in our state right now. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, I don't even care. But Governor DeSantis has said, we're not shutting things down. I don't know what to tell you. We're not going to have a second shutdown of our economy. He's been incredibly clear about that over the past few days. And that seems to me where the sports are going. We're going to play. Sure. We're going to play.
Right. They have shut it down for X amount of period of time, and they have two choices. All right. Either resume when they say they are going to resume, or they're done for this year. I mean, that's it. They've already waited a very long time. A very long time. I could argue that they've waited too long. I truly believe that. I think that all of the leagues should have been trying to get going sooner than when they're going to get going.
Had this conversation with my son yesterday because he was kind of laughing. He goes, well, Bettman, he doesn't care about no corona. Matthews got it. We're playing. I said, yeah, but they blew it. Hey, you and I have been arguing that 4th of July weekend, I would have been doing everything in my power to start playing on 4th of July. To get that month up on the other leagues and the other sports, I mean, NASCAR and golf are getting more coverage than they're ever used to getting.
Yep.
And if you're the fourth in a distant fourth of the big four, man, I would have been trying to get this going earlier.
Now, I will say, that it was only, I think, in the last few days that the Prime Minister of Canada said to the NHL, okay, we'll lighten things up a little bit here. We'll allow you to have one of your hub cities be, in our country, and it will likely be Toronto.
And it was a little more than a few days. I think it was closer to. I thought it was at the end of 2 weeks ago, but whatever. You want to talk about pressure? I would love to know how much pressure was coming on Prime Minister Trudeau from inside going, you're really going to not have one of the cities be in Canada? Are you out? This is hockey, right?
Right.
This isn't CFL.
Right. We care about this.
Right.
Just so you know, a lot. A lot. And you allow the Maple Leafs not to be in the playoffs this year because of your policy. Okay. Yeah, all right. 53 years without a cup. Seriously? You're going to do this to us?
I mean, when he finally said, well, maybe. No blank.
Yeah, exactly. In this revamped playoff system, the Canadians are in the playoffs, right? You do so. We got Montreal and Toronto here, just so you know. Really? Okay. Yeah. I'm not even talking Vancouver or Edmonton or anything else. I'm just talking, you are interested in re-election, right? Miller and Moulton. Very disturbing story out of Talladega yesterday. Adam Stern covers NASCAR for Sports Business Journal. He will join us on the other side. Jeff Fry and Michael Felder next hour to talk a little baseball and college sports. Our poll question, you think the college football season is going to start on time? Yay or nay? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, both on Twitter, or you can go to millerandmoulton.com. Approaching 23 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Could you do a 10-part documentary on any other athlete? And people said Tiger Woods, and I initially thought Tiger Woods.
So I got a personal text there. We were talking about this.
Well, Tiger's not going to give you access.
From a client.
About that affair thing. It's too embarrassing.
Who says, I haven't been to Costco in 5 or 6 weeks because of the mask policy. But heck, I'll wear one to go into the big house.
There you go. There you go. Occasionally we know what we're talking about. Plus also, Mark, people miss their sports so much. And, I mean, they won't be able to look at their family members, honestly. Be like, well, I'm not going. They're making me wear a mask. So you're going to miss?
I can't even answer this text, though. I won't go to Costco because of the mask policy. Holy
air conditioning installer, please apply in person at 4697 Elevation Way in Fort Myers. We're social distancing, so when you get there, call the number on the door and someone will come out and help you. You can also email me at fredkobe@aol.com. That's FREDKOBIE.
Fred, how do you have an AOL account still in this world?
I know.
That's really the one thing I've got to ask you, Fred.
I think that's amazing.
I want to send you an email and just say, Fred, how about fredkobe@gmail.com? I mean, anything. Let me know when we're a minute out, please, Jiro. And how was your weekend? And how was your weekend and Father's Day and all that kind of good stuff?
Oh, it was great. I just need more rest.
Well, you got one more day and then a couple mornings off.
Exactly. I already made plans for those 2 days.
Good. Good for you.
Good man.
You can drive payment-free for 3 months or interest-free for 6 years and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. And our parts service and body shop are open to serve.
Really love John's retweet this morning. I like any time that we get a Nick Saban photo. He's got a Saban rant gif over it.
Oh, talking about Michael Felder?
No. John retweeted my poll question, and he's just used a gif of Saban ranting.
I'm a busy person. Catch the show anytime. Check out millerandmoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
Across the nation, America is moving forward.
Probably next week for Nick Nurse.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Businesses are getting back to business.
And it'll probably be early, though. It'll probably be at 7 o'clock. Because apparently they start what they do at 7:45.
Yeah, Nick, I would say a Yahoo email is far more worthy than an AOL. That's just me.
Foot, knee, hip, and back pain.
I have a Yahoo one. I couldn't tell you what it is, and I couldn't tell you the last time I checked it.
The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority.
Oh, boy.
We've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century,
Hello?
Adam.
Yes.
Good morning. Mark Miller and David Moulton in Southwest Florida. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
We're doing good. Sound like we kind of woke you up. Sorry about that. But
Oh, no problem. No problem.
we're on in about 30 seconds or so. We're going back on. David will go first. I will go second. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tech in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want.
Adam, are you in Talladega?
No, sir.
Starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tech that you have. You also have other Core-Tech products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tech Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tech, so you get the softness, quietness.
Where's
and
home?
The easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tech wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"27 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. And we'll have NASCAR later today. Live coverage from Talladega resumes at 3 o'clock. Brought to you by Kobe Cooling and Compass Drug Screening, as they'll try to get the race in at Talladega. And Adam Stern, who covers motorsports and esports for Sports Business Journal, is kind enough to join us. You can follow Adam on Twitter at @A_S12, @A_S12. Adam, top of the morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing these days?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Obviously, a staggeringly disturbing story. Bubba Wallace finding a noose in his garage. First off, just what people said to you yesterday about this. What struck you?
Oh my God. I mean, first one was to happen, really late last night that this was announced. It happened that, it got announced at, I think 10:45, I think was the time the email came in. So, I mean, I think, obviously that's pretty late for an announcement to have by sports standards. So I think reactions are still coming in, but obviously it's just a total disgrace. And it's a disaster for NASCAR of the highest magnitude. I mean, we thought the Kyle Larson thing was bad about a month ago, and I was on here for that, and it was a total disaster then too. But this is just a whole nother level. I mean, I'd never imagined that NASCAR would be dealing with this, and they really need to snuff out who this is and ban them from the sport forever. You're going to see whoever, as long as they're able to catch who this is, they're going to get the Donald Sterling treatment. They're going to get a lifetime ban, and it really is just unimaginable that someone would do this in the year of 2020. It's a true disgrace.
Adam, how well secured are these tracks? I mean, it seems impossible to me that there wouldn't be cameras everywhere, but are there?
There definitely are cameras, but I wouldn't say there's necessarily always at every single track cameras on every garage stall. Now, Talladega was renovated last year in the infield, and they did create new garages that are nicer and that theoretically are kind of more tricked out, might have more cameras. But definitely from my understanding, not every track is going to have a camera on every stall. That might change after this. I mean, I don't think the sport's literally dealt with this before, at least from my knowledge, certainly in, decades. I've never heard of something like this before. So it's problematic because, they said they found it yesterday. They said they found this late yesterday afternoon. They put out a statement at 10:45. I have to imagine that over those, let's say they found it at 4 or 5 p.m. We'll kind of turn that late afternoon, put out a statement at 11 o'clock. That's about a 6-hour gap. You have to imagine that they considered and tried to see if they had camera footage at that time directly on that stall. And the fact that they announced it at 11 o'clock saying they haven't found out who it is yet, I think that indicates that they probably don't have direct footage of who it is. Obviously, I can't say that for sure, but that would be my guess if you look at kind of the gap of time there. I don't know why they would take 6-7 hours to announce that and say they don't know who it is. So I don't think they had direct. Most likely, they probably did not have a camera directly on there, but they definitely have some cameras in that facility, and they're going to have to, whether it's, they're going to find out who this is by looking at it on camera, they're going to have to do more so old-fashioned investigative work and interview everyone there and kind of do a process of elimination. It might have to end up being the latter, but they're going to obviously go pretty hard to try and figure out who this was.
It's been pointed out by a couple of our listeners that our guess is that inside the garages and the stalls, there are probably not cameras. Because let's face it, most NASCAR teams are trying to get as close to the line, if not step over it a little bit as possible. So they would never allow cameras, we think, inside the garages, but just in the general area where the cars normally drive and the people normally walk, we figured that there would be cameras, and even if they're kind of wide, you'd be able to see who's walking in and out. But Adam, the other thing is, there's far less people who have access to the garage now than ever before. I mean, I would literally think they know the names of every single person who has access to the garage. And my guess is it's probably only a few hundred people.
That's right. I mean, basically NASCAR's plan since they returned has involved having about 900 people at track. And out of those 900 people, there's probably about 100 of them who are in the media compound who are not even in the infield. They've kept them kind of in the grandstand. So, you're looking at about 800 people that it could be. In a normal race weekend, you're looking at you're looking at tens of thousands. So this is much smaller pool of people that they can pick from, and it pretty much essentially had to be someone from a team, someone from the track, or somehow security. I mean, I can't imagine it was someone from NASCAR. It's just almost unimaginable that'd be someone from NASCAR. It's unlikely to be a business side person on a team or the track, but was it a lower level team member, crew member from some team? Was it a lower level track worker? Was it even somehow track security? I mean, those are the sort of people it almost certainly had to be. And you're right, it's a much smaller pool of people that could have been, which on one hand makes it more disturbing, and on the other hand, hopefully gives them a better chance of figuring out who this was.
And to the larger picture, Adam, they were going to allow people in Talladega yesterday. And there were a lot of Confederate flags being flown. There was one flown over the track. With defund NASCAR after it. This, what seemingly shouldn't to most of us be a controversy, is still in NASCAR. I read Bubba's statement that he released last night, and then I read the comments, and you get sick to your stomach reading the comments. I mean, you literally want to throw up. This isn't, I don't think we're going to have more noose incidents, but this racism issue with NASCAR is not going to go away anytime soon, Adam.
No, I mean, this is as serious a thing as I can. Obviously, you can't really get too much more serious than this besides actually doing true violence on another human being's body. But that being said, you're exactly right. I mean, this exposes just how much NASCAR really still has a long way to go. Now, again, we'll have to wait to see who it is. But, it almost had to be someone's in some shape or form in the industry, and so it's extremely disturbing that this could happen. They did ban the Confederate flag a couple of weeks ago, but to your point, you had people protesting outside the venue. So all the Confederate flags you would have seen yesterday were outside the venue. But yes, you had fans line up at one point, kind of almost in a show of force with a handful of Confederate flags or more than a handful of Confederate flags. I mean, I think it was a dozen or two. So, NASCAR for years was kind of seen as a safe haven for people who wanted to fly that flag. A couple weeks ago NASCAR said, no, not anymore. We're not going to be that for you. And I guess we're seeing some backlash. And, we obviously expected it to be in the form of some fans like camping somewhere outside the track that the track doesn't own and flying a Confederate flag. We knew something like that was going to happen. And, I didn't know someone was going to fly a plane with it, but even that, it's disgusting, but I'm not, floored. But to find a noose, I mean, that is just absolutely unimaginable. And again, for NASCAR, I mean, it's just for them to be in this position, I mean, on one hand, you give them credit for coming out and admitting it right away, because, you know, there are some people who thought, wow, you know, in the old days, they might have tried to sweep this under the rug. But that being said, you know, just a disaster for them to be in this situation. There's no other way to put it.
He's Adam Stern. He covers motorsports and esports for Sports Business Journal. You can follow Adam on Twitter at @A_S12, A_S12. Where does the sport go from here? They're going to race today, weather permitting. Does the sport just need to ignore this, ride it out? Or do you think that the sport is even going to have to be more vocal, take even more of a public stance? Because now you've got some of Bubba's fellow drivers that are backing him up and changing their paint schemes and wearing certain clothing. And so it is interesting that a group of drivers who have been very non-political, very non-socially active, some of them are even getting socially active. Where do you think NASCAR goes from here?
Yeah, I think to your point, they're going to have to step it up even more. I mean, you know, to see some fans fly Confederate flags, you know, kind of outside the venue. Again, these are things that we expected, but for someone in the industry to somehow put a noose in a garage, I mean, this is just totally unacceptable and disgraceful. So yes, they have a lot more that they're going to have to do. NASCAR's been trying to work on diversity for years, but many would potentially rightfully argue that it hasn't been enough, and they're doing more than ever now in these past couple of weeks. It is a delicate balance for them to walk. You know, they are a capitalist private organization at the end of the day that tries to make money. They're not there to try and be a political prop or tool. But at the same time, you know, they're trying to stand up for what's right and against racism. And then for this to happen, it clearly shows that they have way more that they need to do. And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully they find out who this is and ban them from the sport forever. But this tarnishes their brand even more to be associated with this. And again, on one hand, I get that. That's part of the reason why I give them credit for coming out and admitting this right away. They clearly did not try and sweep this under the rug. On one hand, you could argue they really had no choice. But nonetheless, they did come out and just admit this right away. But it just shows, yeah, you're right. This sport, unfortunately, has become a safe haven at times over the decades for people who felt this way. And they're going to have to do more to snuff these people out, because this is just disgraceful.
Adam, final question. You do write for Sports Business Journal, after all. Have you, in the last couple weeks, is there a company that, because of some of the steps that NASCAR has taken, has either bailed on NASCAR or gone more in on NASCAR because of some of the stances and some of the issues that they are taking on? Like, I think it would surprise many people. Bubba Wallace has always struggled for sponsorship. Okay, you would think he's a unique marketing opportunity, yet he has always struggled for sponsorship. He's talked about it recently. Have you, in the last couple of weeks, seen or heard of any business that has gone one way or the other based on everything that is taking place off the track?
Yeah, I think you've seen a lot of brands, you know, in the sports say they totally support what NASCAR's been doing with these moves the past couple of weeks. I haven't heard specifically of any brand at all that has, you know, dropped out of the sport because of that. I don't think we've seen any major announcements yet as far as, you know, a new brand that's coming in the past couple of weeks specifically because of this, but there's certainly talks. You know, I've spoken to Richard Petty Motorsports' team owner, Andrew Bernstein, several times, and he insists that in recent weeks they've had a handful or more of major Fortune 500 companies reach out and say they want to sponsor Bubba. So that would be obviously great. He has struggled with sponsorship during his career. He started to kind of form some good relationships. For example, a couple of weeks ago, he had a one-off deal with McDonald's. My understanding, and your readers and your listeners will hear this, and this is early for a lot of people, my understanding is McDonald's is working on expanding that deal with him. So we could see McDonald's, you know, do a bigger deal with Bubba Wallace in the future, which would be great. So it does seem like there's been a good response to, you know, what NASCAR's done in recent weeks, what Bubba Wallace has stood up for in recent weeks. Again, I haven't seen any deals announced yet, but it does seem like there's a lot of interest right now in Bubba Wallace, and that's great. And hopefully we will see those brands step up because he deserves it.
Adam, thanks for making time for us once again, particularly at this hour. Stay safe, and we look forward to talking again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Adam Stern covers motorsports and esports for Sports Business Journal. That's Sports Business Journal. And you can follow Adam Stern on Twitter at _S12. _S12. Adam Stern, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. And I'm guessing that there are some people that are hearing about this story for the first time who either weren't with us last hour. And as Adam mentioned, I mean, the story was only released 9 hours ago. So you likely went to bed and you didn't know of it.
Yeah, I was one of those. John sends out our show prep pretty late because he's working on getting guests well until sometimes midnight. So usually between 11 and 12, our show prep page, if you will, comes out. And sometimes I'm awake, and sometimes, like this morning, I saw it for the first time, and he has a reason why we haven't. And, you know, we had Adam on, and in parentheses, noose found in Wallace's garage. And my jaw hit the floor this morning. And like I said, I read his release before our show and left it up. If you think that this is an isolated problem, you're crazy. All I would ask you to do is go on Twitter and go to Bubba Wallace's account, look at his statement, and then look at the comments.
Today was the day when. Coming up, Jeff Fry in 20 minutes, a former Major League player who's now an agent, to talk about the dispute, the ongoing, getting nowhere fast between the baseball players and owners. And Michael Felder will join us in about 45 minutes' time to talk about college football and his thoughts as to, well, whether or not we're going to have a college football season and will it start on time? And that's our poll question today. At that Mark Miller and the David Moulton on Twitter, or you can go to millerandmoulton.com. Will the college football season start on time? Mark, I don't know your vote. I voted resoundingly yes once again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Just didn't know if anything had caused you to change your mind.
No, actually, every day leads me to believe I'm more accurate with this.
Okay.
And mainly because some of the point, in the 104 or 5 days since we've gone without sports, just how much damn change there's been. We started this whole thing out going, well, hey, I don't even know if Rutgers is going to be playing in the Big Ten. Well, if you look at today's COVID numbers, you would argue that Rutgers is going to for sure play in the Big Ten. And if you did it by numbers, you'd be going, well, geez, I don't know if the Gators, Knowles, and Seminoles will be able to play, which we all know is a crock. So I think, one, it's far too early to start making big decisions about what's going to happen 3 months from now.
Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when? On the other side. Here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
Dak's done the right things. He's won games. He's the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. The idea, though, that you got to pay him for, hey, you would have been paying him. He's a first-round pick, $7 million. He was making, less than $1 million. That's not the way it works. For him, yeah, he was fourth-round pick. He got screwed. Part of the reason he's fourth-round pick was he got a DUI before the NFL draft.
Doug Gottlieb, afternoons at 3 on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. What happens to your old air conditioner when it's replaced? Well, most companies drop them off at a scrapyard for a few bucks, and that's about it. Scrapyards crush them up and ship them off, but do they recycle the oil and Freon? Who knows? That's not how we do it at Kobe Cooling. Kobe Cooling has a full-time staff that
Marty
performs
Smith
all
is
of our recycling.
trending. He was
remove
pretty
the recycled
passionate for about
Freon.
3 minutes on
Remove
SVP
the
last
oils.
night. I've
Have
not
them
seen it,
treated
but
at hazardous waste facilities. We completely disassemble the machine and recycle and sort all materials so we have a minimal impact on our environment. We could just throw them out like most companies do, but Kobe Cooling supports a smart, green, recycling environment. If you care about Southwest Florida and its natural environment, always use a company that recycles as much as possible. We do it because we can, not because we have to. Kobe Cooling, license CACO 57313.
Hey, it's Drew Steele. Want to talk about Stadium Dry Cleaners, my good friends. They are great people there. I've been going to Stadium Dry Cleaners, I'm telling you, for as long as I can remember.
This commercial,
you may know Larry Rose. Now, Larry
because
is an experienced SEC
I love
NFL
Drew.
referee. Well, I know
But there's
Larry
something
has
about
a
Drew during the beginning of the
fantastic
spot
dry cleaner
reminds
and a
me
great
of
business
the Howard
Look, you're gonna
Stern
love
bit.
Stadium
I
Dry
remember going to
Cleaners
there
with
with
discounts
my
for
dad.
first
Oh, it's
responders
their
and
grand
seniors.
opening.
They
You
have
caught me in a
multiple
lie.
locations
You
here
when
in
you hear
Publix
this
and
next time,
Daniels Crossing in
it
Fort
just
Myers.
spit That's
Gateway Trade Center in Fort Myers, and the
the
Elegant
Stern
Image Dry
commercial from
Cleaners
the
next
beginning
to
of that movie.
Walgreens on Del Prado in Cape Coral. They are Lee County's leading dry cleaner since 1988, with 30 years of experience in Lee County. I'm telling you, I trust my
That is a
family's
great,
dry
by the way,
cleaning to
Saban
Larry and
gift.
the team at Stadium Dry Cleaners. So will you visit
I
them?
give John a lot of credit. That's a great Saban gift.
It is. It is it's a terrific saving gift.
That's quality right there.
He's talking about right and wrong.
We back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk the talk,
A lot of sports stuff to talk about.
we back it up.
Good sports talk radio.
On Fox Sports Radio.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues to open up. Businesses are getting back to business, and we are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us. We're open and ready to serve you. Our personally fit arch supports are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate, foot, knee, hip, and back pain, and provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority. So we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives, 2 feet at a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable? Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
Dial star 2020. Friends, I care.
Well, we're all trying to wash our hands 10, maybe 50, 100 times a day now. So when you touch your contact lenses in the morning, are you also thinking about, well, all the germs you could potentially be placing in your eyes? No one wants to think about that, so it might be a great time to consider LASIK. France Eye Care offering $1,000 off bilateral LASIK, a savings that make the procedure much more affordable. Dr. Jonathan France and his expert team of surgeons want to help you see your future in 2020 by providing you with better vision and a better quality of life. But what if you've been told you're not a candidate for LASIK? Call France Eye Care anyway, because there are other procedures available that will help you see clearly without the use of glasses or contact lenses. Call now, schedule your free consultation, take advantage of $1,000 off bilateral LASIK special. Financing available.
France, I care.
Here we go! Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"12 minutes before 8 o'clock. Hope you had a great weekend. And for you dads out there, hope you had a nice Father's Day. A little different, I'm sure, than it's been in the past. First, no U.S. Open on TV to just kind of get comfortable in the chair and watch, although you did have golf, the Heritage, that went into the early evening, and it was pretty darn good.
And unlike the U.S. Open, they actually made birdies in this tournament.
That is true.
And a bunch of them down the stretch to help Webb Simpson with the victory.
A reminder, NASCAR later today, beginning at 3 o'clock here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio from Talladega. It's brought to you by Kobe Cooling and Compass Drug Screening. Without further ado, time for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
David, we start out today in 1874 when Major Walter Wingfield introduced lawn tennis. Tennis invented today.
Wow.
So go slap the little yellow ball around today and thank good old Walt, Major Walt Whitfield. 1889, the Louisville Colonels set a Major League Baseball record with their 26th consecutive loss.
Mark, that's when they played Major League Baseball in the summer, which they had done every single year in the 152-year history of Major League Baseball until 2020.
Joe Louis, today in 1937, knocks out James Braddock in 18, David, for his first heavyweight boxing title.
Wow, 18. Huh?
Yes. And it was 1 year later. We talked about this last week when Lewis lost to Max Schmeling, but it was today in 1938 at Yankee Stadium that Lewis knocks out Schmeling in the first round to retain his title in a fight that only went one round and was cut off short on German radio before Schmeling was knocked out.
Interesting how that works. I hope people have recognized how many times when you've done this segment in which you've talked about a major championship fight at Yankee Stadium.
Yep. Marciano last week was at Yankee Stadium. Absolutely. Boston Brave Jim Tobin throws his second no-hitter of the year, beating the Phillies 7-0 in 5.
Wait a minute. That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
What do you mean?
Come on. Your 5-inning no-hitters don't count. It's an official game, but come on. Can't count that as a no-hitter. Give me a break.
Who are you to change the annals of time here? Unbelievable.
It's an official game, but
it was his second no-hitter of the year.
Now, here's an interesting debate. Pedro Martinez threw 9 perfect innings, all right, but the score was 0-0. And they went to the 10th, and Pedro gave up a hit. You give him credit for a perfect game?
No.
Okay.
Bill Veeck bought the Indians today in 1946. Little Stevie Wonder. He was still little Stevie Wonder then, David. 1963, 13 years old, his first single, Fingertips, goes to number 1. It was the first live, non-studio recording to go number 1 on Billboard. That right there, he is the pride of Saginaw, Michigan. Not Draymond Green. Stevie effing Wonder.
Yeah.
You only can have one.
Yes, I'm with you.
1969, the Cuyahoga River catches fire due to pollution. REM would later write a song about it.
Oh, and unfortunately, they've had to live that down for a long time.
50-plus years of being made fun of for that. Hello, Cleveland. Larry Holmes in 79, TKO's Mike Weaver in 12 for the title.
I loved Mike Weaver. Absolutely loved Mike Weaver. He gave Ali a really good fight late in Ali's career, and he lost 14 rounds to John Tate and took him out with a left hook in the 15th round in John Tate's hometown, and John Tate was never the same again.
I'm looking at the pictures of the two of them. Mike Weaver looked like a bodybuilder. That was a big man.
And he was just like the 8th ranked heavyweight back in that. I mean, that's when the heavyweight division was boxing's best division.
It was today in 1981 that John McEnroe uttered the phrase in the first round win over Tom Gullickson, "You cannot be serious."
That was the year he went on to win Wimbledon.
Pete Rose gets his 3,772nd hit today in 1982 to move into second place, ahead of Hank Aaron. Just baffles me, David. Baffles me. 83, the NHL puts the 5-minute overtime period in. 1990, the Braves replace Russ Nixon with Bobby Cox.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
1990, that same day, Florida passed a law which prohibits wearing a thong bathing suit. Seriously? Florida?
Wow.
Right. Adam Sandler joined SNL today in 1990. Eric Lindros was the first pick of the Quebec Nordiques today in 1991. In 94, the Rockets beat the Knicks in 7.
John Starks, 2 for 18 from the field. Yep.
I gave it enough pause there to figure out whatever it is you wanted to say.
Riley goes game 6 and 7.
You knew there was more,
Houston.
didn't you?
Riley only brought one suit. Okay, that was his big psychological thing. He told the team, hey, I'm only bringing one suit. Okay, this is it. We got to win this in 6. So, of course, when they win it in 6, he had to have the suit dry clean.
09, Lucas Glover wins his only major title at Bethpage, 2 shots ahead of 3 players, one of them named Phil Mickelson.
Phil Mickelson. Yep. Wasn't Duval one of those
yes.
players also?
Ricky Barnes, David Duval, and Mickelson. I just bring up Mickelson because it's another second-place finish at the U.S. Open.
Well, he only had 6 of them.
And at the 14 Women's U.S. Open, Michelle Wie wins her first major title.
She gave birth over the weekend to her first child, a daughter, I believe.
She was a nice kid when we sat down and talked to her at the LPGA event. She was a very pleasant young lady.
Yes, charming. I don't think she'll ever play again, by the way.
If you're born today, you share your birthday with some really famous people. Kind of a cool birthday day. John Dillinger, let's start out with maybe the most notorious American bank robber, born today in 1903. Davy O'Brien, the quarterback, born today in 1917. Chris Christopherson, born today in 1936. Ed Bradley, born today in 1941. Pistol Pete Maravich was born today in 1947. Singer Todd Rundgren in 48. Listen to this trio, and I want you to all play blank Killer Mary in your own heads right now. All born the same day. Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman, Meryl Streep, and Elizabeth Warren. Talk amongst yourselves. Cyndi Lauper, born today in 1953. Freddie Prinze, Chico and the Man, was born today in 1954. What a funny SOB that guy was. Clyde, the Glide Drexler, born today in 1962. Randy Couture, the MMA fighter, born today in 63. Kurt Warner, born today in 1971. Champ Bailey and Dan Weldon, the race car driver, both born today in 1978. Ian Kinsler, born today in 1982. And DJ is celebrating his 36th birthday. And that is today, was the day when, on this 22nd of June.
It's interesting. So DJ's 36. So he's closer to 40 than 30. You know, DJ's been young for a long time. And when you're
closer to 40 than you are 30, you're no longer young.
In golf.
In life.
Okay. Well, but in golf especially, and I understand they're in better shape longer and the whole deal. But, you know, there's a long track record of a lot of guys who don't make putts after they turn 34. Watson, Palmer, none of them ever won a major after turning 34.
Well, and DJ's never been thought of as someone who could roll the ball very well.
Right. So how many more big wins does Dustin Johnson have in him? He's not head and shoulders above everybody off the tee and on tour anymore. Miller and Moulton.
That's a great point.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking
If
about
I said DJ never won another major, would you be surprised?
Not at all. What's new at the store? That's my point. Not at all.
Tech in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as
Hey, quite frankly, Mark, he's going to, you know, he's got that streak of 11, 12 years in a row where he's won a tournament every year. He hasn't won yet this year.
And it's not just the many colors
Okay.
of Core-Tech that you have. You
I'm
also
not
have
kidding.
other Core-Tech products as well.
Let's see if DJ wins this year.
And yes. And Hops, by the way, I read your little comment, and do you know how hard it was to not go into a full Eddie Murphy, Joe Louis, 137 years old? When you put that kind of crap up, and I'm doing that, and I'm trying to keep a straight face for the next 4 minutes, and all I've got is Coming to America barbershop lines in my head. Damn it, man.
6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco.
Beat Rocky Marciano. Joe Louis, 137 years old.
That's floormeisters.com.
Calling your quarantine. And we move now to the couch where this match is set
You
to
never
take
met
place.
no Martin Luther
The first
King.
spoonful of ice cream shoveled in, maybe a little too fast. We could have a brain freeze situation here. Cannot fill the void of baseball. And after making quick work of the dishes, she turns to, oh, wait. We'll get back to the ballpark. The cat was settled by her feet. Eventually. Look out below. She's going down. A message of hope from Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water. Hoops in the hallways, battling in the break room, and target practice in the urinals. WFSX AM from the Rock to downtown Fort Myers.
What do you know about funny?
Here's what's trending now.
Eddie Murphy as the
Brought to you by
white
Center
Jew
for Men's Health.
in the barbershop in that movie is one of the great characters of all time. call. You're saying calling. Let's find a number. Let's go. Come on. There we go.
Hello, this is Jeff.
Jeff, good morning. Mark Miller and David Moulton. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are great. We are literally going on in about 15 seconds. David talks first. I talk second. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, no problem.
Will not read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish on Twitch because I needed content. That's what we've come to.
And Moulton. Well, we need to explain to her the pilot program, and we need 25 hours of programming a week. So you need to deliver your 12 minutes a day, 5 times a week, because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Third and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Michael Felder from Stadium to talk a little college football coming up at the bottom of the hour. He played 8 years in the major leagues with 4 teams and spent a decent amount of spring training time in Southwest Florida between the Red Sox and the Rangers back in the day. He's Jeff Fry, former player, now turned agent. You can follow Jeff on Twitter at 03J Fry. That's 03J Fry, and Fry is spelled Frye. Jeff, thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm good, guys. I appreciate you having me on. Sorry about that thunder in the background.
That's okay. By the way, quick question, because you started with the Rangers in the early to mid-'90s before you went to the Red Sox. Were the Rangers training in Port Charlotte at the time?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So most of your major league career you spent in spring training here in Southwest Florida between the Rangers and the Red Sox.
All 15 years of my career, spring training was in Florida. Not just for those 2 teams. I was also with the Blue Jays. I went to spring training with the Tigers. I went to spring training with the Reds. So every year of my career, spring training was in Florida.
Gotcha. All right.
All right, let's get to the deal at hand right now. Now that you're on the agent side of things, this has been a terrible bit of negotiation. This has made no sense to us on the outside. Take us through on the inside, just your perspective of how much animosity there was between these groups when it started and how much there is now.
I think there's always been some sort of animosity between the players and the owners, unfortunately. I guess when we strike a deal, it seems like everything's good, but yeah, it's pretty bad right now. I mean, I'd be lying if I told you I was in the middle of all the negotiations, but it's pretty bad right now, and it's not really a good look for our sport, especially what's going on in the world. And I can't say right now that I know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think anybody does. And I know we need baseball in a bad way. So I'm hoping that everybody puts their heads together and comes up with some type of agreement.
Jeff, when you look at this, do you see this as the owners negotiating for 2020? Or do you think that this is the owners who are really also laying the groundwork for 2022?
Yeah, I think there's always a little bit of future ideas about what's going to happen in the next collective bargaining agreement. And I mean, personally, I wouldn't put it past the owners to think this could be their one chance to try and break the union. And I mean, it's a tough situation for everybody. I know, people look at billionaire owners and millionaire players, but the players' side there's just so much uncertainty in what's really going on with the coronavirus. And I can't sit here and say that I can blame those guys for being a little skeptical about having a 2-month baseball season. And is it worth the risk?
Is it worth it? I mean, Could baseball handle not having it, though? I mean, that seems to be the question that a lot of us are asking. Is baseball, will it be able to withstand another type of no World Series year? I mean, 94 took a lot of people away from the game, and it took basically a little bit of Cal Ripken and a little bit of steroids to bring people back. I don't know what's there to bring people back if we miss this season. How devastating do you think this could be for the game?
It could be very devastating. But, if you look at what's transpired, in the last couple of weeks in colleges and, NFL football teams and what's going on with, these teams, some of the teams have shut down their facilities for a few more weeks. And, I heard somebody explain it yesterday really well. It's kind of like a rain delay where you don't want to have a rain delay, but it's probably better off when you have a little break instead of starting the game and having an abbreviation and then having to restart it and waste your starting pitcher. I think there's just a little bit of uncertainty in the players' minds about, we're going to all go back to camp together and everybody's going to be together. And what happens when a couple guys come up positive? Is it going to shut it down again?
He's Jeff Fry, former major leaguer. Now he's an agent. You can follow Jeff on Twitter, 03JFry, and Fry is spelled Frye. Well, what way are you recommending, as a former player who's had to vote on collective bargaining before and now paying attention to the negotiations, if one of your clients asks you, which way should I vote? Should I vote on the owner's 60-game season and some of the things that go along with it, or should we hold firm and just let them implement what they're going to implement and then get ready to do battle again in a little more than 12 months? I mean, if I'm your client and I ask you, what should I do? What's your recommendation?
That's a tough one. That's a lot of pressure on an agent to tell his player what to do. So, I would never tell a player what to do. I've had guys back when we had the strike, had players call me up and say, hey, the owners are asking me to cross the picket line. And they say that if I don't become a replacement player, they're going to release me. What should I do? And I said, man, I'm glad you're having to make that decision instead of me, because I don't know what to tell you, but I can tell you you're going to be my friend either way at the end of it. And so, I can tell you one thing: the players are going to stick together, and whatever they decide to do, it's going to be in the best interest of all the players that are part of that union, and that's why the union's been so strong over the years.
Jeff, as we were getting ready to have you on, I pulled up your Twitter account and watched you fall in the pool there because the video started running. As someone who's spent money for now my long-done son who's 21, he's not playing ball anymore, but I spent a lot of money on hitting lessons when he was a teenager because, I was told I had to. I'm just curious your thoughts of where the game is, because I see that video and kind of I'd like to hear about your She's Gone movement and just where you want to see the game go, because we are so focused on a certain swing right now, and it goes all the way down to the young ages, and we strike out more than we ever had in this sport. So I'm just curious, because there are problems in baseball that have nothing to do with this labor agreement. I think we all can recognize that. What do you think about where the game is, and what would you be trying to do to fix the problems that we all see?
Man, I think there's a lot of problems in youth sports, and like you said, the swing that's being taught to a lot of kids, in my mind, is a bunch of garbage. And I played 15 years professional. I played baseball my whole childhood into college. Nobody ever once mentioned my swing ever to me, even in professional baseball. And I think what's being taught is a cookie cutter swing, and people are trying to sell that this is the only way to be successful in baseball. When, as I'm sure you guys are huge baseball fans, you've seen every different type of stance imaginable in baseball, and guys successful, from Rod Carew to Cal Ripken changing his stance, once a month, to a lot of things. And I think it's hard for parents probably who don't know, maybe some of these parents haven't played baseball in their life, and they're trying to do whatever they can is best for their son. And, in my mind, before kids get to, become teenagers, they just need to play rec ball, have fun, learn how to play with their friends. They don't need hitting lessons. I never had a hitting lesson in my life, and I played 15 years professional. And I think we need to make it fun for kids, because kids are going to quit playing when it becomes a job and they have to go to lessons 3 times a week, and mom and dad are forking out $75 a lesson and their kid's not getting better. It used to really bother me when I was coaching Little League and kid would not get any hits one game and the parents would go, "Oh, he needs another lesson." Well, that's not going to fix your son or daughter. Just let them have fun. When you pick somebody out to take your kid to, when they start getting more serious about it, just make sure they're qualified. Sit there and watch, and listen to what they're teaching your kid. And if they hand him a PVC pipe, I would turn tail and walk right out the door, because PVC pipe has nothing to do with being a good hitter.
Jeff, do you think there's enough non-players in the game today that care about the game today? Like, listen, I had major issues with Bud Selig, but I thought Bud Selig cared deeply about the game of baseball. I did. All right. I don't feel that way about Rob Manfred. And I'm listening to some of these owners during this, in which it's like, okay, this is strictly a business to you, strictly a business. And you know how sports is supposed to be more than a business, not just in terms of relationship with the players, but to the fans and their communities. And Jeff, one of my concerns is that the people on the other side right now don't give a damn about the sport. This is just business to them.
I agree 100%. And I played during the time Bud Selig was commissioner, and I really wasn't a big Bud Selig fan either, but I do agree with you that he loved the game. He spent his life in the game and would never do anything purposely to hurt the game. And I agree that Rob Manfred, just from what he's done, the moves he's made, it appears to me he doesn't care about the game at all, just by some of the changes they've implemented in the game. Just crazy things that, the 3-batter minimum, talking about robot umpires and things. These are things in my mind are taking away from the fabric of the game, which guys like us, that's what we love. We love the strategy. We love the little nuances of the game. And a lot of that is being taken out. And a lot of people working in organizations now have no history in the game. They're just statisticians. They come up with data and analytics, algorithms, and could care less about the game, because the perfect example is if they truly cared about the game and respected this game, we would not have happened what happened in Houston. Okay? People who love this game and been in it their whole life understand that there's unwritten rules. There's, this somewhat loyalty to the other team to not cheat them. And just by what happened in Houston, lets you know that these guys don't care about the game, because people who understand those rules would have never even thought of doing something like that.
Jeff, all the best to you and to your clients. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Okay, fellas, I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Jeff Fry played 8 years in the majors with 4 different teams, and now he's an agent. And you can follow Jeff on Twitter, 03J Fry, and Fry is spelled Frye. Jeff Fry, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. And Mark, I know some of the things that you would have gotten, you and Jeff would have had a discussion there, because you like the robot umpires.
I love it.
I mean, some of the things that, you two would go back and forth on.
Yeah, I love it. But that, there's a lot of other things. Look, at the fact of the matter that I thought when he was talking about the baseball swing, when Tiger came on the scene in golf, Tiger swung differently, coiled his body. It was a different form of a golf swing than we had really seen, and released all that power. And now everyone kind of implements that. It's kind of when Matt Wolff came out, to me, I was like, oh, I want this guy to win. This guy's different. He doesn't swing like everybody else. This reminds me of watching Miller Barber when I was 4 years old play golf. Like, there's something, Furyk. You go, wow, this guy did it differently. And he is right. When he started thinking about baseball, I am guessing all of you either did a Gary Sheffield or I just happened to watch the long gone summer, and you have McGuire wagging the bat basically over home plate right until the pitcher starts pulling it back. I mean, every guy's swing is different. And growing up as a kid, I think you and I, David, playing wiffle ball, you damn near went through the lineup and you were imitating everybody.
Absolutely.
I remember Johnny Walkenfuss had this, just like Joe Morgan, had this little chicken wing thing going. So, Ed, maybe that's just romancing poetically about a sport that's completely changed.
Mark, you bring up something. It's one thing to be a kid growing up in Cincinnati or in Ohio in the mid-'70s, and it's one thing to imitate the Big Red Machine and go through their lineup. All right. You're a real fan. All right. You go out there and you go through the Tigers 76 lineup. That's a fan right there.
Tom Verizon.
Exactly. The 77 Mets. Okay. I'm going through their lineup as a kid.
Aurelio Rodriguez hitting about 212.
Right. All of a sudden, and I got to go. My Doug Flynn, get down in my little bit of a stance.
Yeah.
And then I got John Stearns, very upright, okay, with a little bit of a bat waggle. Right. All right. Bruce Beauclair, okay, with the, he didn't stride into it. He just, had the big wide stance, and that's it. I mean, you go through a 100 lost teams lineup. That's a kid who's a fan right there.
As this gentleman says in Twitch, says, I was a righty and tried to emulate Yaz from the left side. By the way, I'm a Yankees fan. Yes, that's the point. But we watched those guys, and certain guys, as soon as he mentioned Rod Carew, how many of you were going, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hit 345 every year with that swing.
It's amazing. Speaking of Yaz, because Major League Baseball, here they are. They're not playing. They're barely talking to one another. We're not very optimistic about the next couple years, quite frankly, with the sport. We think they're in a very bad place. Yet yesterday, Major League Baseball was releasing a whole lot of Father's Day things. Jim Bunning threw a perfect game on Father's Day back in '64, but they put a little 2-minute vignette together. You mentioned Yaz. Yaz's grandson plays for the Giants, and they came to Boston late last year. And remember, the grandson homered at Fenway. And they showed them before the game in which Yaz is walking out in left field and showing him the monster. And then, Yaz threw out the first pitch to his grandson, which was a very classy move by the Red Sox. I mean, so glad that they were paying attention to the calendar and the whole deal. And then, the grandkid homers straightaway center field, and the Fenway faithful give the kid a standing ovation as he's rounding the bases. I mean, it was, and you're watching it and you're going, yep, and they're not playing. Yep, there you go.
And I'll say it all year long. We're going to figure out a lot of things coming out of the coronavirus, and, the human race is pretty strong. We'll survive. But the one thing that 2020 will never give us back is what should have happened to the Houston Astros all year long. I think I'm still honked off of all the things. I don't care what happens with this damn baseball season, but the Astros did not get their due around the country. They just didn't.
No.
We're voicing our opinions on a lot bigger issues than cheating in baseball right now. And there are a lot of great things, I believe, going on. But the one thing that we will never get the opportunity to do properly is heckle the Houston Astros.
Boy, that's just another thing to hold against 2020, isn't it?
It's near the top of my list, David, because you and I had circled the date to go see them play.
That Wednesday afternoon game, we were stopping by a Home Depot or Lowe's, man. We were bringing in trash cans and mallets. Got that right. And as long as we pay with a credit card, Mark, at the Trop, apparently you're allowed in. It doesn't say anything about what you're not allowed to bring into the game. I think a weapon is about the only thing we're not allowed to bring into the game. But as long as we pay by credit card, they would have let us in. Because there would have been about 6,700 people there, man. That sound would have echoed through that stadium. Astros are getting off easy.
They are getting off way too easy.
Not only that, they could win this thing.
Right. That's the other part of this.
What a crapshoot this is going to be. Verlander gets to have surgery, come back, be perfectly healthy. It's going to be such a short season. The fact that they don't have the depth that they used to have. I mean, so what? Quite frankly. So what? I mean, if you're a top-heavy team right now, great. We're going to play 2 months. They're going to let half the league into the playoffs. Once we get into the playoffs, play a 1-gamer here, a 3-gamer here, 5-gamer there. Eventually we'll get around to playing 7-game series. Whatever. We're good.
And this is almost the opposite of what should have happened to the Astros. This turnaround is going to let them circle the wagons. They are going to be all us against them. They think we cheated. And with this short season, David, you're right. Probably the one team you should just go throw some money on to win the whole thing. Because 2020. If for no other reason, because 2020.
Exactly. This is the kind of year it was for Major League Baseball in 2020. Who's going to win the World Series?
The Astros.
The Astros. Miller and Moulton. Michael Felder. Talk a little college football. He'll join us in the next 10 minutes. The good, the bad, and the ugly is roughly a half an hour away. We're on the air tomorrow. We've got Wednesday and Thursday off, and then we're back on Friday. Nobody's getting fired. Nobody's going back into the hospital. Everything's okay. Mark's literally going fishing.
I'm going fishing.
All right.
Hoping to bring back a couple of fillets for David because he eats fish now.
Yeah, a lot of it, in fact.
There you go.
A lot of it.
You know what? I'll try to bring you back some fish.
Okay. You can drop it off at the front door.
Probably in the mailbox. A little pack of ice.
The FPL bill has never smelled so good. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
What time is it? There are times when we
Marathon.
It is a crazy, crazy day.
Crazy. There are other times when we do this.
I would never be doing something to make me look stupid. I mean, on purpose.
Oh, boy.
Probably more like mahi instead of grouper, Heckelhide. I'm expecting to slay the mahi. Maybe some tuna as well. But I won't give David any of that. I'll keep that for myself.
You'll find it here on Fox Sports Radio.
Cathedral Roofing Innovations.
I'm telling you, if I was the local baseball team, I'd change my name. I'd sell all this Mighty Muscle stuff, and I'd change my name to the Groupers. I really would.
As long as they don't do it groupers. If they do groupers, I'll beat them up just as much.
Well, grouper.
Thank you.
Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design,
I think it'd be marketing genius.
By the way, it's kind of funny, that Skinny Dogs restaurant, David, it's in Gateway. And it's on one of the holes of the golf course, kind of, but there's a lake there. And so we're sitting outside, and it's, there's whatever, the main drag there through Gateway is at Gateway Boulevard or whatever.
Right.
And you're on the corner of that, and I think Fairway was the road. Or anyhow, but we're sitting there on the water, and I just mentioned Eve, I go, it is funny. It was a pretty nice view. Funny that I've got to be this far away from the water to have a water view at a restaurant. I mean, it is the one ironic thing about this place.
For over 20 years,
there are so few waterfront restaurants for a place with this much water.
True. It's one of the reasons why Julie and I used to go to Fort Myers Beach all the time. Just to be able to eat by the water.
No, I'm with you.
Water.
I think my NATE certified mechanic team hides my tools from me so I don't hurt myself. You see, I'm the old guy.
So apparently people are really having trouble with the fact that they don't even believe that this noose was there. I don't get it, but
really, you think NASCAR released this story? You think
no,
NASCAR released a fake
Bob
story?
Pockgrass just tweeted out. The noose was in Bubba Wallace's pit stall was found by a member of Bubba's team. For those of you asking, NASCAR says it happened. It isn't investigating a report that a noose was there. NASCAR says it was there. And I'm telling you, that's what, like, they think. I'm just.
It's not me. It's the best team of NATE certified mechanics ever assembled.
Yeah, this is.
We inside of a minute yet?
Experience the best. License CACO 57313.
Like Miller and Moulton on Facebook.
Gerald,
we're right there.
1.5? Okay. I usually always wait for the. Yes, it is. And it is. It is phenomenal. I think it's better than Fat Cats. The only problem is they have crinkly fries. He has great fries at the other place.
The river to Lako and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information or visit towboatuskapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google
Your call has been
or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M University Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Where I'm from, marijuana is legal. Can I use it in Florida? Nah, it's illegal here. 20 grams or less is a misdemeanor, and more than 20 grams is a felony. Well, I have epilepsy. Should I try to get a medical marijuana prescription? Now that's legal, but talk to your doctor first to see if it's
I sent him a text. We'll see.
Okay.
I will. Thanks.
Because I was opening up with the biscuits with him. That's right where I was going.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're live.
Approaching 27 minutes past 8 o'clock. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Our poll question today, very simple, straightforward. You think college football season is going to start on time? Yay or nay? Right now, 57% of you say no, which I'm surprised about.
And David and I are both in the yes column on this one.
Yep, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter or millerandmoulton.com, and you can vote. And Mark, Bob tweeted in, there are a lot of states critical to college football that have skyrocketing cases right now. And he rattled off California, Texas, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, Arizona. Schedule totally up in the air. And of the 6 states that he mentioned, I said, Bob, Texas, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina. I go, they're going to play in those states. I'm just, we can get into all the reasons, but I think everybody knows they're going to play. And now you want to debate California and Arizona, knock yourself out. All right. But the other 4 states, they're going to play at least on September 5th. That's our belief. They're going to try. They're going to start it. And then Bob said, okay, we were supposed to play Clemson this weekend, but they lost 30 players to quarantine. Then what? And I go, Bob, that's why they got 85 scholarships and 100 guys on the roster. I'm telling you, this is going to be one of those years where it aren't going to be nearly as many guys redshirted because they're going to need the bodies this year.
And I look at it this way with Clemson and LSU. They're 25 to 30% of the way of getting this whole team ready for the season. Don't know what to tell you. They're almost having their own herd immunity in Clemson and LSU. I back up what David said 180%. I am far more concerned from a coronavirus standpoint of the National Football League. They only have 53. And even if they're going to carry the whole practice squad, which this year instead of 12 could be 16, right?
Or I think it could be 12 because normally the practice squad's like 7 or 8.
Okay, so they're going to take it to 12.
There is talk that between the roster and the practice squad that you could have 60 people in uniform for games. They're debating whether to open it up to put 60 people available to play.
And why are they debating this? Because you spend all these time in position rooms and all of a sudden a wide receiver gets the coronavirus. You could have your whole wide receivers out. College with the bodies that they have, I'm not nearly as worried about college football from that standpoint of losing players. I think the NFL, it's a much more, the NHL, the NBA. Well, these are the questions I'm curious about as we're playing these 6 weeks to finish the season thing.
Well, right.
I mean,
now, Bob, and to everybody else who is thinking like Bob, we're not discussing whether or not they should. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We believe, rightly or wrongly, we believe economics, okay, will drive this equation, not just for athletic departments, but also for universities as a whole. I mean, we are of the belief, even bigger picture, that the entire university model is dependent on having kids on campus in dorms. And because otherwise, if you give them a year where they're doing it online, I don't think these universities are going to be able to charge full price for doing it online, at which point people are going to go, well, why should we do this on campus at full price when we can do this online at a discount? So we think everything financially is on the line here in 2020 and the 2021 school year. Michael Felder is kind enough to join us. He covers college football for Stadium. You can follow Michael on Twitter at In the Bleachers. In the Bleachers is how you can follow Michael. Michael, it has been too long. How are you and your family doing?
We're making it work, man. I mean, it's just, I'm a homebody anyway, so it's not wild that I would just stay in my house. I think when my wife and I first started dating, I stayed home for like a week, and she was like, "What, you haven't left?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't." Why? I don't have a date, so we didn't have a date, so I don't have to go out. So we're good for the whole staying at home part. We cook dinner every night anyway, so that part's okay. But I think the interesting thing is going to be what's happening when it comes to work time, quote unquote, when you like you guys just referenced, getting back to the school year and the season.
Well, our poll question today is just a very simple one, Michael. Do you think the college football season will start on time? David and I, for the record, both think that it will. Do you?
Yeah, I think it will. And I don't think it will because things are going to change in terms of the virus or in terms of the conditions. I think it's going to stay on track because right now we're seeing networks, advertisers take massive hits. And those hits are hard, especially when you're thinking about the idea of no NBA finals right now, no Major League Baseball right now. And so I think that they're realizing, we need to do this stuff so that we can continue to push the money through.
Yeah, it's money for the colleges, it's money for the athletic departments, and it is money for the networks. We do find it interesting. Here we are late June, and the college football television schedule has not been released. So that right now there are a lot of people waiting as long as they can. Michael, what are people in the sport telling you? Let's just say, what has happened at Clemson now happens during September. Do you think people in the sport can handle that, quite frankly? Will they be okay with Clemson going, well, for 2 weeks, we're going to be down about 20 guys because they tested positive. We think they're going to be okay, but we've got to quarantine them, et cetera. Do you think people in the sport are going to be okay with that kind of reality?
That is one of the best questions that I've been asked about this. And honestly, I think that it's something that's going to have to happen, and we'll see it happen whether the NBA does start up in Orlando or baseball does start up on their limited series. We might see that before we get to the college football season, but the reality is I think people are telling themselves they're going to be okay with it because they just want to have football back. But I don't know if it's Trevor Lawrence or if it's Amari Rodgers or if it's Travis Etienne. I don't know if it's a star player, NFL or college. I don't know if it's a star player that has to be out for 2 weeks. I don't know how people are going to react. And I think you're really, honestly, right here, this is something that I had not thought a ton about. And the NBA had it for a second with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, but the season then ultimately shut down. So we didn't get to see what actually happened with the Utah Jazz. So this is a question that I don't really have an answer to because everyone that is I guess there's kind of this almost a dichotomy where everyone who's so pro season starting on time, they also seem like someone who's not going to be happy if their star players aren't playing, even though they say it doesn't matter, we'll get it done. And then everyone who's like, let's be a little more cautious, I don't know that. I think that they're more worried about the players in general. And so it's an interesting kind of, weighing of the scales where The people who want it back and need it back, and this is the thing I need, I don't know that they're going to be happy when the product is not good because of, honestly, players having to be out and players having to be quarantined and players having to, miss time. And I think it's going to be interesting. And then we didn't even get into it from a player's perspective, but I mean, if you're a player, and if this is your senior season or your junior season and you're going to the league the next year, why risk it? It's going to be interesting to see how these things all sort themselves out.
And then there's the other side of it, Michael, because I just happen to have a neighbor who one of his good friends is the center at Purdue. And I talked to him the other day when he was over, and they want to get on because he got hurt last year. He needs more tape. He can't wait to play. That's the only thing he's thinking about is I need to play. And we remember, too, being 19, 20, 21 years old, we're bulletproof. You're not thinking about the virus. You're thinking about football.
Yeah, and I think that's the other interesting part of it is parents and kids and how they handle this. Because as a parent's probably thinking, I need my kid to be healthy long term. And the kid, as you mentioned, I need to get more stuff on film. And I listen, I lived through this. Me personally. My wife's cousin was a starting left tackle at Michigan State, and all he thought was I've been talking to a couple agents. I want to go to the NFL. I'm going to push through. And it wasn't the coronavirus, but it was an injury. I'm going to push through this injury, and I'm going to try to make it happen. And you come back too soon, and the next thing you know, the NFL's not even calling your name anymore because you've got some irreparable damage done to your body. And I don't want that to happen to some of these kids. Like you mentioned, your neighbor's son, who's a center. He goes back to school, something happened, and now all of a sudden he can't pass a medical for the NFL. So I'm very curious on a personal level how parents are going to handle this. And I think that it does come down to parents of means versus parents of little means and how they handle it. And it's going to be very interesting to see this because I do think we're also going to see some sort of some class division in college football simply based on the fact that some people's kids do need to go back to try to do that, to try to show what they can do, to try to get to the next level. And others are like, you know what, let's just play it safe because the big thing that I've always thought about is my mom and dad. And my brother didn't play sports in college and I did. And I just can't imagine my mom saying, okay, you go back to school, but they're saying it's not safe for your brother.
Well, you're on to something there, Michael. And Dave, Michael Felder from Stadium joins us. You're on to something there because that's the other side of this. This is the fan side of this and the student side of this. Michael, there's two. I mean, David and I have contested for the longest time that the college football season is more than about college football. It is the entire university model. Everything depends on one thing: kids being on campus. And if we're not living in dorms, then there's no point of having a college. And no dorms, no cafeterias. We have a whole issue and we had someone today on our show. Someone texted me personally and said, I won't go to Costco. I'm boycotting Costco because of the mask, which is his own conversation. But secondly, he said, but if I had to wear one to go to the big house, couldn't put it on fast enough.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. I talked to a buddy who works at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame was one of the first schools to push out their fall semester plan. And what I don't think people realize is Notre Dame is pretty unique because they have 9,000 undergrads. That's not a lot compared to 50,000 and 50 whatever thousand at Ohio State or 50 whatever thousand UCF. And then you get into these little individual scenarios where whether it's UNC Charlotte or it's UCF or USF, those are commuter schools. So those kids are at home. It's not an isolated environment. I think it'd probably be easier to isolate in Chapel Hill or in Athens, Georgia, where at least all the kids that come back to school don't go home until Thanksgiving when the semester's over, versus a school where kids live at home, which means, and this is the only example I can think of, but I think about it the way you think about STIs or STDs, where the person that you slept with, you've slept with every person they've slept with. And if you're all isolated on campus, that's one thing, but if you're going home, then it means that it's your parents and who your parents work with and who your parents coworkers go to or who they see and all those things. And I think that's the part that's going to be interesting to see how they manage it on campus. Talk to some people about campus dining, which you guys know, right? Like it was all buffet style and
totally
go in there, get some stuff, go out, hang out, table, open dining rooms, tables, the whole deal. So there's a lot of things that are going to have to change. They're going to be working on, I know that they're working on pick-up orders where you eat it in your own dorm room. I also just, the logistics of trying to do that with 50,000 kids and, you know, some live on, some live off campus. So it's going to be interesting. But I do think that from a sports standpoint, from a college football specifically standpoint, it's gonna be really difficult if they try to say that we can't have students on campus, but we can have you on campus, and then also still say, oh, well, they're just regular students like everybody else. That's going to be a conversation that I don't think the NCAA wants, and I don't think the university presidents want, because at the end of the day, the end result of that conversation is, oh, they are more employees than they are students.
And we're talking with Michael Felder of Stadium. Follow Michael on Twitter at In the Bleachers. Michael, who's going to be the body, the group of people that says no? For as much, like right now, our poll question, do you think college season is going to start on time? 57% of our audience right now saying no. Oh, okay. The fans don't get a vote on this, though. They don't. Mm-hmm. The players aren't going to say no. The coaches aren't going to say no. The ADs are not going to say no. The conference commissioners are not going to say no. I mean, that only leaves the university presidents. And in the Southeastern Conference, every university president has already announced we're going to have kids on campus by the final week of August at the latest. I mean, Michael, for as much trepidation as there seemingly is out there, if you go group by group, I don't know the group in college football that's saying no.
The lawyers, I think, at the end of the day. I think that, I don't trust the fans, the players, the coaches,
right,
or the ADs, or the commissioners to put the health of the students first. When it comes to player health, and this isn't even regarding COVID-19, this is regarding player health in general. I don't trust any of those people. I only trust the athletic trainers. And in this regard, I only really trust the lawyers who the university presidents are talking to. Those are honestly, everyone's like, I want to hear what the conference commissioners are going to say. I want to hear what the AD says. I want to hear what the lawyer is telling the university president. Because all it takes is one. All it takes is one person to get sick. And they're in a world of trouble. And I know that we've seen the waiver that Ohio State is signing, and other schools are likely to have kids sign waivers or have their parents sign waivers if they're underage. But the reality is the optics, honestly, the public backlash from someone dying, and I don't even mean a player. It could be a trainer. It could be a doctor. It could be anyone. Or someone, being in the hospital for an extended period of time because you needed to make your nut for the year it's going to be interesting. And so that's who I think the people with the power to say no are the lawyers that are advising university presidents, because at the end of the day, the AD is not liable. The coach isn't liable. The conference commissioner isn't liable. At the end of the day, it comes down to the desk of the university president. And so they are, I'm sure, talking to lawyers to figure out what happens next. Because you make a mistake, and guess what? Your university you're in a world of hurt.
And I think it's the staffers and the workers more than the students that you're onto something there, Michael. I said this in the beginning of the show, and David mocked me. But since I know you are my brother in food, Michael, we've talked food on this program many a time. Had breakfast out yesterday. I did not cook. It was Father's Day. I do all the cooking in this house, so the wife took me out to breakfast and to dinner. And at breakfast, they did all of their Benedicts on biscuits. And I said that's life-altering. Your thoughts on an Eggs Benedict instead of it being over an English muffin on a biscuit?
Couple of things. One, I've been making all my own English muffins at home. So those are My wife loves them. They're fantastic. They're great for a burger. If you don't know about this, a lightly toasted English muffin with a burger, so good. Holds together better than most buns. It's fantastic. I will say she also loves an Eggs Benedict on a biscuit. I love it. They're great. The flakiness, it gives you that good crispness on the bottom. So, yes, it's a game changer. It's really good. I'm all for it. I'm hands up for you. I love that. That's fantastic. I'm glad you had a good Father's Day. But I listen. I love English muffin biscuit. We had chicken biscuits last night. I love biscuits, but I will also just want to put this into the atmosphere. You get a good English muffin, you throw a bacon cheeseburger on there. You're gonna really love it too.
Michael, you had me at homemade English muffin. I might be texting you for a recipe later. I mean, we could have sports and food podcasts going off the bat, man. I've said that from the beginning. So at least he gives the approval. And now I'm thinking about it. And David, you love an English muffin.
Love it.
Think about throwing a hamburger in between that.
Oh, man. It's life-altering for me just with peanut butter on it. I can't imagine a burger in the middle. My goodness.
I'm telling you, I went to a little spot in the Upper West Side of New York City, and they had English muffin burgers. And I was like, is this going to be okay? And then I ate it, and I don't usually eat my whole burger. I'm a half burger guy, and I ate the whole thing, and I was just like, this is so delicious. So it was super on point. Shout out to my guy Hunter for taking me there. It was so good, and it just became a staple of our household because the nooks and crannies they hold whether you're using like an aioli or using a sauce, whatever you're using, it holds it together. It keeps it in there, and it doesn't get soggy. It works really well.
Well, now that we're all starving, Michael, thank you very much for everything, and stay safe, be well.
Thank you so much. You guys take it easy.
Michael Felder covers college football for Stadium. Michael Felder of Stadium, and you can follow Michael on Twitter at In the Bleachers. In the Bleachers. Glad we're able to throw a couple questions at Michael that he hadn't heard before, and Mark, good solid job by you, because yes, you and Michael, you are your food brethren there.
Oh, well, I mean, I remember on the show, and I somehow mentioned, or I think I'd put a picture up on Twitter of the outdoor cooking area, and Michael was bent. He was just flat out mad. He goes, "You mean you got the burner next to the grill? Man, I'm jealous." He was ticked off about my outdoor cooking area, and his Instagram has more food pictures than anything else.
Oh yes.
Which, by the way, David, I don't know, are you aware that we have a Instagram account?
No. And I'm not on Instagram, and not on Facebook either.
No,
so,
I know.
I know we have one of those also.
Right. I don't pay too much attention to the Facebook account, but I laugh because I will post food pictures mostly on the Miller and Moulton Instagram account, and someone called me out on it and said, "There's no way Moulton has anything to do with this." And I simply responded, "Moulton might not even be aware that Instagram exists."
I'm aware of it. Never been on it. Miller and Moulton. A reminder, we've got the race at Talladega beginning at 3 o'clock today, brought to you by Kobe Cooling and Compass Drug Screening. The good, the bad, and the ugly to wrap things up on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
During that interview, Brett McMurphy tweets out that because of the Derby, Louisville's moved their game. It was supposed to be their season opener was supposed to be Thursday against NC State. Yeah, they moved it to Wednesday because of Derby weekend. They're not canceling games. They're just making sure we can get the game in so that everybody's out of town and the hotel rooms are ready for Thursday.
It's interesting.
Patrick Show, weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We can get into this, Mark, tomorrow or whenever. But, can you imagine the scenario where a big boy loses a game that they would never have lost if it wasn't for COVID? Like, remember that game Clemson nearly lost 2 years ago?
Right. I know exactly where you're going.
Quarterback transfer. Trevor Lawrence gets hurt in the first quarter. The third stringer has to come in. They beat Syracuse in the final 30 seconds. Well, we could have a scenario. What if Trevor Lawrence gets it, and all of a sudden he misses a game or two, and now you got Clemson, let's just say, or Ohio State. Ohio State doesn't win the East because, when they played Penn State, Justin Fields couldn't play because of COVID. And then Ohio State wins out. But they don't go to the Big Ten title game because, well, they lost the tiebreaker to Penn State.
America is moving forward
because of COVID.
Finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues to open up.
I mean,
businesses are getting back to business, and we are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us.
My feeling is if you're going to play,
our personally fit art
you just
supports
need
are
to
designed
realize
alleviate
all that
even
can
the
go
pain.
wrong.
Foot
And you
and
need
back
to be
pain.
prepared to handle it.
Provide comfort, balance,
That's
and
all.
support. The well-being of our customers, associates,
And we're
and
so
community
adamant
is
that
our
they're going to play
highest
because of the money. I mean, not because we don't give a damn about the players' health. We're not even saying whether or not they should play. We're just saying,
That we're
they're going to
playing.
play.
Yes.
America get back on its feet.
I mean, please.
And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives.
That's actually a question we can ask later on down the road.
Making your life miserable?
Should they play?
Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
Not will they?
Listen
Should
to
they?
Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Cathedral Roofing Innovations. Now, Hurricane Irma was a long time ago, but believe it or not, problems with tile roofs, they continue to occur as a result. Now, many homeowners are just now feeling the effects of the hidden damage that occurred to their tile roof. Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living on borrowed time. Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design, are susceptible to lift and powerful storms like hurricanes. When this occurs, your tile underlayment can be compromised, but you would not realize it until possibly years later. Now, with Cathedral Roofing Innovations, you get a great roofing company to inspect your roof for any damage, and just because you don't have leaks doesn't mean you don't have issues. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. They are the tile experts in Naples, and they will start the inspection process right away. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. cathedralroofingnaples.com.
License number CCC 1331928.
Attention, Southwest Florida. Are you ready for this? Only Naples Nissan will give you $8,000 over Kelley Blue Book value for your trade-in. Hundreds of new SUV models to choose from, all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. Pick out your favorite at naplesnissan.com. Then come see us on Pine Ridge Road to find out the KBB.com current market value for your trade-in. We'll give you $8,000 more so you can drive that brand new Nissan home today. If KBB says it's worth $5,000, Naples Nissan will give you $13,000. If KBB says 10, we'll give you 18. You must act fast, though. Visit naplesnissan.com for full details. Offer on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
From the best headlines.
The best.
To the worst.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
Prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
For the good, today we go to Delaware. This is a cool story where a boy had a little fun. Mom had an Amazon delivery order, and that's what moms do. Lynn Stafari placed her order, and somehow her youngest son answered the question on the form that asked, do we need additional instructions to find this address? The 13-year-old wrote, no, but knock on the door 3 times and scream abracadabra as loud as you can and run away super fast. The best part is that there is video captured from the camera at the door, and the driver did exactly what the instructions said. Lynn posted the video on Facebook, also apologizing for her son's instructions. That's awesome. Nothing better than seeing an Amazon driver screaming abracadabra and then take off running. For the bad, we go to Rikers Island. Sounds beautiful, isn't.
No, not like Sanibel Island.
No.
Not even like Staten Island. No.
Arthur Brown is a resident at Rikers Island, and he doesn't like it very much. He tried to swim away last week, actually 3 days ago. He was caught trying to swim off of the island. Then, 3 days later, he was pulled down from the roof after his second failed attempt to escape in 72 hours. According to the New York Daily News, a source told them that they're livid and heads could roll. That, David, is the bad for the ugly. We go to Jersey, where...
Oh, come on.
David, where a man was soliciting money in a drugstore parking lot when a 66-year-old woman gave him $1. But Thomas Demick did not like the dollar. He forced his way inside of the car, sat on the woman, and took her car, leading police on a 2-state chase that ended in Pennsylvania. He was arrested on foot. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, this June 22nd of this, the longest year known to humanity, 2020.
I'll tell you, I'm just going to give some advice. If you ever run into a Jersey State Trooper, just whatever you do, stop, pull over, comply.
This guy got through Jersey and got to Pennsylvania. He didn't pull over.
I understand, but man, that's a group of people that, Mark, I don't stop talking. I don't stop mouthing off to anybody. I will a Jersey State Trooper, though. Little bit of stand-up that I did a routine in Jersey, and I did about 5 minutes on the Jersey State Troopers, in which one of the jokes was they take you, throw you in a pond, and wait 24 hours and report you as a missing person themselves. I mean, that's an ornery group right there. Raptors supposed to land in Southwest Florida this afternoon. Toronto Raptors going to train for a couple of weeks over at Alico Arena and FGCU before they make their way to Orlando. They're supposed to get to town later today.
Talladega coming up. Sorry, go.
I was just going to say we're going to have their head coach, Nick Nurse, on the show next week.
And race fans, if you're working today, place to listen is right here, Fox Sports Radio, 3 p.m. We'll begin our coverage of the race at Talladega.
How much do you think Fox talks about the incident last night with the noose? I mean, how do you address that off the top of your broadcast?
I think you have to off the top, and I don't think they'll say much after.
Miller and Moulton. The Dan Patrick Show's next. Thanks for listening. Fox Sports Radio.
All right.
Fred Kobe with your
Thanks, everyone.